Yeah, me neither.
I'm gonna try to
Hello,
stream
test,
here.
test. I'm finally.
When you're ready, in Pro at eye level.
Am I good? Can you guys hear me?
Persona?
I can hear you
Yeah,
just
we can hear
fine.
you.
Excellent, excellent.
Awesome.
Your name's just Apple Vision Pro, though. Hopefully that's okay.
Yeah, what happened to your name, Oz?
That's awesome.
What's that? Oh, is it? Oh, funny. Let me see how to change that. I am Apple Vision Pro.
So, friends.
Yeah, Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we are now streaming live on YouTube, by the way, and probably Twitch. So,
Woohoo!
yeah, just so you know,
Oh,
we are now
boy.
live. We are now actually live. So, but despite me trying to figure out how this works, so we'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, and feel free to. I mean, maybe Alex. Well, nice to see everybody. This is so awesome. Maybe Alex, you want to maybe chat with other folks about before I get into the virtual reality. Maybe chat with folks because you know I got to do some back end technical stuff here. But we are technically live on probably
Sure.
Twitch and YouTube, so everything you say is in the public record for those who joined. But thank you for joining, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I cannot wait to dive into all the details of Vision Pro with you all. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Eugene, for hosting. Real quick, everyone, I want you all to know that if you move your Zoom window around, it'll actually change the camera angle on your persona, which is kind of cool. I was hoping Apple Music would do something like that, like you'd hear the audio coming from the Apple Music app. But no, at least Zoom got this figured out.
Same with
Alex,
YouTube
can you
or
tell I'm
Juno
looking at
and
you right
everything.
now?
Can I tell that you're looking at me? Well, there's nothing spatial,
Yeah.
really. Like, I see you're looking
No,
slightly
no,
to
but-
your right.
Oh, that's unfortunate because I'm looking like I have it set up in gallery mode and I'm looking directly at your square. So I was
Oh.
kind of hoping that it would be able to tell I was looking at you and have a redirected eye contact.
It looks
'Cause with
like
FaceTime,
your
FaceTime does
camera,
that.
Sadly.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at Azad, which is right in the center. So does it look like I'm
Mm.
looking at my right ahead?
No, it kind of looks
Or
like
how-
you're
Nope.
angled a little bit up.
I think there's just one central camera, Michael. Unfortunately, with
Hmm.
it's just like one smack in the middle,
Just like real Zoom.
just like real
Wasn't
Zoom.
Wasn't Zoom supposed to have some like very special Vision Pro features in terms of like keying people and like spatially
Oh.
placing them?
I don't
I
know.
hope they get there. I don't see it.
Maybe.
Granted, I've only been playing
Yeah.
with this for like past 5 minutes. It looks real,
Yeah,
fairly limited. Like raise hand, it's exactly the same as the I think iPad app, really,
Mm.
which is the UI skinned out. But yeah, it's still pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is neat to see everyone's different personas. Like almost everyone here I've met in person, so it's cool to see how close the personas are to the real yous.
You know, I think for the Vision Pro app, I prefer the gallery view. I never use the gallery view like normally, but
Mhm.
I think I prefer it this way because it's Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
just need
at
one more
least
person.
with the active speaker, I'm not like looking all over the place. I might be looking directly at you now, but I don't know. All over the place. How do we change our backgrounds? Because we're all in the same room. All over the place. How do we change our backgrounds? Because we're all in the same.
So if you
the same
figured it out,
room.
let me know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite
in the
food?
same.
Very
beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite
in the
food?
same.
Very
beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite food?
in the same.
Very
beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite food?
in the same.
Very beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite food?
in the same.
Very beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite food?
in the same.
Very beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's
Because
your
we're all
favorite food? Very beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's your favorite food? Very beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds?
What's your favorite food? Very beginnings, but I, you know.
How do we change our backgrounds? I couldn't get in from the. How do we change our backgrounds? I couldn't get in the meeting
Wow.
ID and password in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Hey,
audio
did-
issue
were you-
for me
hey,
as
was
well,
there-
but I think
Was
that
there
was
an audio? Was there an audio issue, by the way, or did that not happen to anybody?
yeah, and that's what we're
It
saying.
worked
is
fine
it's
for
like
me.
it was
Repeating?
I couldn't hear anyone, and that was the classic Zoom thing of like, hey, tell us like, are you going to be dialing in or are you just going to be using Wi-Fi? Which is like the most inane thing that you have to deal with every
I
single
will
time.
be
So-
dialing. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
With a dial-up connection. I think that's what they meant. And the other thing we're missing here, of course, that you would get with FaceTime is none of us look three-dimensional to each other. We do just see the gallery of all the flat faces, Basically,
which is great for
yeah.
the audience to see us, but not as exciting for us in the headsets.
Mm.
Right. So
That makes
essentially, it's
sense.
still just a video feed, right? Like that's the easiest implementation for them to do that so far. It's just like,
Right.
I will say all the personas of the people that I've met in person are pretty great,
Yeah.
pretty spot on, except for Ian. Ian's
Yeah.
looks a little bit off. Just
I
I
don't
did
think
it
I've
really
ever
fast to
seen
come in
me-
here as quickly as I could, so I did the worst possible capture possible.
I think it still looks like you, Ian. I just realized I've never seen you with short hair. Like I've always seen you like old school long hair, Ian, which is long.
Mm.
That was a long time ago, right?
Yeah, I've done every type of hairstyle, so it's like I'd like to collect them in my persona gallery if I could, right?
Ah.
And,
Someone was telling me recently that the eyes might actually be kind of a real-time video feed that's being stitched onto, and
Wow.
that's why there's
Hmm.
like really like minute details that you're seeing, like the folds working super well. I don't know if I fully
That is
believe them, to
interesting.
be honest, yet, but like
Uh,
I do
I don't
wonder
think
because that
that's
is
true.
really lifelike. Okay, I might. I
Yeah,
might
Yeah,
be
there is
totally
an
why I don't think
aspect
it's
about
true,
the eyes, and there's
because-
an aspect about the smile that is very important. Whenever you see someone in real life, when you smile with your eyes as well. So that's also, you can tell like
Mhm.
whether there is a fake smile or a real smile. But the personas are failing to capture those small muscles around the eyes when you smile. So it just does look like you
Yeah.
actually have a
Yeah.
lot of Botox on or something, or like somehow you have like a something you're trying to, but it's mostly just the face on the mouth only, versus the eyes are a little more static than they usually would be. And I think that's part of the whole uncanny valley situation that a lot of people are experiencing right now with the personas.
Right on. Right on.
Pretty
Does
sure
anyone have a
feed
hypothesis
of
on
the
what's
eyes
happening with the tongue?
is because my left eye is bloodshot, and you can't, and it's definitely not bloodshot
Okay.
in this video. But that's how I definitely know it's not a video feed.
Fair enough.
I think we all have the same tongue because at no point are we asked to open our mouth. Right?
Everyone put
I
out
think
their
so,
tongue.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah, it's
we
weird.
are.
You guys, can you
does,
guys?
does
live
anyone
on,
have like an idea of
live
what
on
their own
Twitter.
tongue's supposed to look like? Because in my mind, I don't know what my tongue's.
Hang on, hang
When
on.
I say it, I'm just
Some
like,
can't-
some
some
like
people
long
can't curl their
conversation that they
tongue.
had at Apple was like, you know, nobody knows what their own tongue
It's probably
looks
a
like,
feature
so who
request
cares,
that
right?
got denied. Yeah.
I'm
Trying to
with
like
it for now.
somewhere in a board meeting, they're like, we need to do the spec for the tongue, and they're like, no, we don't have time. So
It's not.
tongue
It's not really.
is really-
good.
Bit, just ship it.
surprisingly good.
yeah, that's common in the next
Think about
update
my
for sure.
teeth either.
I mean, it's we're making jokes, but like Meta didn't ship with tongue tracking at first. Why?
It's VR
I mean,
chat.
it's only really
they
useful
even have
for VR chat ERP, right?
Wait, Meta.
Yeah.
Wait,
Has Meta
Quest,
shipped legs
Meta
yet, by
Quest
the
doesn't
way?
have Meta Quest doesn't have tongue tracking. That's interesting.
It does now.
The Quest Pro does.
Oh.
now.
Didn't.
Just came out.
Vision, yeah, Prize Pro.
And is it because they're trying to
Uh-huh.
basically be a parody, like parody with Vision Pro? I mean, because obviously they could do it, right? I mean, tongue tracking has been around for.
I don't
for a
think
while.
so. I
Right.
mean, I saw it, and people are like, they did it. Like, looks so good in the Vision Pro. Like, I don't think it's possible for the Quest Pro to do this. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
not to be gross, but check this out. That is like low latency tongue tracking there. That's like flawless. It's kind of amazing.
That's pretty amazing. So I'd love to maybe while I get in here, I don't think I know everyone. So maybe everyone, since we are live on stream, maybe everyone introduce themselves. We got a great collection of folks here who've done. I mean, I know Alex and others have done some awesome things in the VR industry. So I mean, should we just go down the line and just do some quick intros? Maybe David.
Yeah. While you're getting set up there, Eugene, do you want me to point to people and have them all introduce themselves?
That would be awesome.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down the line as I see people. So David Liu, you start.
Hi everyone, my name is David. I've met several of you before. It's really nice to see you all over again in the Apple Vision Pro. You guys probably know me best as the guy who used to work at Viacom, and then after that did a whole volumetric capture thing with Lightframe. And I've disappeared from the VR industry since, but I've secretly been in the shadows. So good to see many of you again, all over again. Quick thing, I'm really sorry. I have to bounce in about 10 minutes. I hope you guys don't mind if I pop off, but I'm glad I could spend this time with all of you.
Cool.
Good
Nima.
to see you, David.
Good to see you,
Hi,
sir.
everyone. My name is Nima. I've been in the VR industry for about a little over 10 years now. I've done a lot of things, shipped some games, shipped some AR apps for iOS, shipped some AR glasses with Epson Moverio. And right now I'm the director of product at Leia, which is the world's leading 3D company.
Woohoo. Ozzy Azad.
Hello. Yeah, I got my start working at Upload VR. Used to do a lot of video production and live streaming there down with Ian. It was a good time. And currently I work at Realities.io on a game called Puzzling Places, which is a 3D jigsaw puzzling game from made with photogrammetry scans from around the world. Currently also on Vision Pro as of launch day basically. And yeah, we've been iterating on a very different version of Puzzling Places on the Vision Pro. And you can't tell, but I am actually working currently. Even I have my Mac virtual display in front of Zoom, and I'm like looking at you guys while going back and working on that thing. So I do like that you can do both at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Michael Gold.
Hey everyone, what's up? Long time no see for some of you. I'm Michael Gold. I was with NYU's AR VR research lab, spun out a bunch of early 6DoF tracking, low latency, multi-person co-located networking based startups, and now I am teaching at School of Visual Arts, doing a lot with real-time 3D and generative AI, and working on a bunch of app prototypes and whatnot for Vision Pro. Currently just kind of playing around, seeing what's possible.
Cool. Thanks, Michael. IX Diego. Diego, can you
Maybe he's not hearing us. I see his eyes moving. Oh no, I lost audio.
Yeah, he just went on mute. Can you guys hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Do we all lose the audio of everyone? Uh-oh. We broke it?
I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear everybody. Yeah, I can hear everyone.
Okay.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me twice, like through Vision Pro and oh, my Vision Pro is not enabled. Interesting. So can everybody hear me or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you once though, not twice.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. So how does one allow? Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry, guys. Some snafus. I guess that's how it is. Are you guys able to see my Vision Pro avatar?
Yeah, you just popped in there.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So, Michael, okay, I see. We lost Alex, but we have everyone else. All right. Well, I may as well do intros while we wait for Alex to rejoin. So, yeah, nice to meet everybody. Thanks for joining this little experiment of ours that is now being broadcast live to the world. I'm Eugene. I'm a VR filmmaker from Penrose Studios. Have made several VR films, including The Rose and I, and then I wrote and directed Alumet, and then Arden's Wake, starring Alicia Vikander, was the latest. So that was several years back. I've been doing VR dev since the early days. So I was early at Oculus. I created something called Oculus Story Studio while there with some great talented people from Pixar and DreamWorks and elsewhere. So and then doing it again in my own studio. So good to meet you all, for those I haven't met before. So who has
meet you? I think we did most of the intros. I was like the only one that didn't get to give my intro, I think.
Ian, let's go for it.
Before you joined as an avatar. But yeah, I'm Ian Hamilton with Upload VR. I started reporting on Oculus when it was a duct tape demo for my coverage area back at the Orange County Register. And I think I did a Disney Cave before then. That was kind of interesting. And there was Eon Reality was a local company for the Orange County Register. If you guys ever remember Eon Reality. But then I tried the duct tape demo and it was like hooked on. And I've talked to most of you over the years for one story or another. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think we've definitely talked over the phone. I think this may be the first time we're having, well, certainly a first time Persona convo, but it's been a minute. Awesome. Alex, welcome back.
Yeah, I lost everyone's audio. It was weird. So I just restarted the whole thing, and that's what it took.
That's hilarious.
Same here, Alex. I lost audio as well, so I had to rejoin. It looks like we got
on Zoom.
I know. Come on, Frontier Technology.
We've got two Azads.
Did we find the limit of how many personas could be handled by Zoom?
Probably
I was
the same number of webcams.
I lost all audio last time. I had to restart the machine, but I still don't have any audio. I will try to log back in again.
Oh, that's so strange.
Yeah, same here. I'm on my PC currently trying to get the ID to rejoin from my Vision Pro.
Yeah, what I did was I sent the link to myself over iMessage, and then just clicking on the link in iMessage seems to open Zoom okay.
Got it. Okay.
You can also just copy and paste the link. So copy the link and paste it into Safari. So you have a Safari screen on the side. You can always just double click to rejoin.
Great.
That seems to work.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
So I just got back from the Apple store. I did a fit test in the store.
Same. I had to do the same. Incredible.
Yeah. What size were you, and what size do they ship the headset with? Are you there?
Mike?
Are you there?
Did I cut out?
I think for a second, but I think you're good now. Who's speaking? It's funny that I can't tell who's speaking anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it in. I turned off gallery view, so I have it in active speaker view, so it's more helpful. But I was asking because they sent me a completely different size than the fit test I actually got in the Apple store. So
Sure.
My device came with a 33W, and turns out I'm a 21, and it feels completely different.
How so?
So I don't know if anybody else.
How so?
The light shield was separating magnetically from the headset when it was most comfortable on my face with the 33.
Yep.
And it turns out that the 33 is much deeper in how it is. So like some people are like, oh, just put the headset on without.
Yeah. I feel like the interesting thing about it is, I mean, the field of view, people have talked about it, is smaller than we would like it to be, right? But I mean, some people have, I think, put it closer to their faces, right? And that's allowed us to get a little more FOV. But yeah, definitely compared to what we're used to, the FOV isn't great. I know, Alex, you've had some stuff about that, right? You've like taken the light blockers off, I think.
Yeah, the thing that I didn't realize was that if you just do that with how things are set up immediately, you're going to see a lot of distortion at the edges. But if you do the thing where you like press your camera button like 5 times, it'll then do kind of a recalibration, and it'll look much sharper with a much wider FOV.
I think it's great. Great. Looks like Diego.
I mean, ultimately, I think the FOV is fine. I mean, I know a lot of people want like 120, 140 degrees and are pushing for that. But from my perspective, it's like, I think someone just did a measurement. It actually, even though it's like technically smaller than the Quest 3, it's only like 1 degree in each direction when you do the pure measurement. So a lot of the things that people were probably measuring from was just based on that, the depth of your eye shield. So I don't know. I think it's definitely better than the Quest 2. It for me, it is slightly worse than the Quest 3, but not enough that I would complain. It is FOV to me is more like you have to hit a minimum threshold, and as long as above that, like you don't care because you don't think about it. It's not immersion breaking anymore. You don't like think that there's like things blocking you. You just kind of engage with the real world, and yeah, it just doesn't come up. It's like kind of like screen door effect too. It's like there's like a minimum threshold. And once you're above that, it's not like it matters a huge amount. It's just kind of like, okay, I'm not bothered by the screen door anymore.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned the screen door because did any of you guys try the Codec Avatars demo from like how many of you guys have tried Codec Avatars?
Yeah, it's SIGGRAPH back in 2022.
Because like what I remember most from like the demo that felt like it crossed the uncanny valley on Codec Avatars was the screen door effect. Like the space between the pixels was the thing that I remembered most from the limitation of what Meta's doing on the avatar front.
That's fascinating. Do you feel like,
Michael, did you have to get an appointment to get into fitting?
So I heard if you go to it when it's busy, they just put you in an overflow line. But I actually did set up an appointment in the Apple Store Messages app. You can kind of just go through the chatbot, type in representative a bunch of times, and then once you get a live person, it's really easy to set up an appointment. So I got in today in my local store, and they were happy to get me fit tested and swapped out. Now, keep in mind the 21W is sold out in a lot of places, but they gave me a 22, which fits almost as well, and they said they'd swap me back for a 21 whenever they get it in. It's much better than a 33. And I think someone else posted online the similar thing happened for them.
Do we know what those are? Like the numbers is it just the depth between?
So
So
someone on
my
Twitter at
understanding
least,
is that
and go ahead. I think Nima's about to say what I'm going to say.
oh yeah, so I think they said the first number is the depth and the second number is the width. So or maybe reverse that. So basically, it doesn't like 22 is not necessarily smaller than 31 in the way that you care. Like 31 might be closer to the lenses versus like a 22 would be. I think so. The first number is actually the width, and the second number is the depth.
Yeah.
I don't know what the
Gents,
W
it's
and
been
the N are
great
though.
seeing you
'cause
all.
There's,
I have
there's
to
two
bounce,
letters too.
but this has
Cool.
been a
Thanks,
privilege
David.
and pleasure.
thanks, David.
Bye, David.
See ya.
Thanks for
Have me on.
joining. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a random
think
thing. How do you change your Apple Vision Pro name? Like Apple Vision Pro Ian? Mine just says Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Does anyone know how to do that?
So go to your
I just did it. Go ahead.
go to the participants, and then you can go to your name and do rename.
Gotcha.
I like seeing the video feed and the persona above each other. It's a nice combo.
Yeah, is it good? I don't know. I can't like. I mean, it's kind of reversed. So I have it mirrored so somehow, so it doesn't match exactly. But it's anyway. Okay, and here's a big question: Who do we think this is good? Like, this is my real. I mean, it's obviously good. It's obviously good, but let me frame it this way: since a lot of people here have been in VR for a while, I think I was talking to some old Oculus buddies, both on Twitter as well as privately. And I was just telling them, hey, I think this is the best VR headset.
I'm going to take this chance to tell everyone that there is a complete disregard between the audio and the video for me right now.
What does that mean?
Oh.
How so?
Like it's desynced?
That's interesting. It's
I think his audio is real out of sync. It's not for me, though. Everything's the way when you talk,
everything's good for me.
What's his geographical location compared to us?
That's a good question.
Diego, where are you?
Diego, if you can hear us, you might want to leave and come back because it sounds like you're super desynced. Maybe an internet thing. I'm not sure. But in any case, yeah. I mean, I'd love to hear from people. Is this like? This feels like an incremental next step. I mean, it's an awesome device, probably the best VR headset I've ever worn, but I'm not sure it's like going to change much in the industry, right? It still feels like a long haul, right? A long slog. But I'd love to hear from folks and see if people feel differently.
I'm more excited about the OS and software
Yeah.
than the hardware. I think the hardware, the headsets, it's heavy. It's probably going to be obsoleted very soon for on a hardware side, and it's too expensive. That said, I do think it's the best one I've ever had. Like if I compare it to any facial device that could do any wearable that could do video recording, this is probably my most favorite. And up until this point, my most favorite was actually the original Snapchat Spectacles. It was that was the only device that I wore until they broke. Every other headset I've owned has like eventually wound up in a drawer somewhere, and like I've had 10 of them. So I don't know. I think this is one I actually go back to, and I chalk that up to, you can do work on your MacBook while you're using this thing. You can have a bunch of different windows open very seamlessly and smoothly. So in that respect, I think it's really nice to see a smooth ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
It's well said.
I think there's some things that are massive steps forward, like just massive leaps, and others that are, either not as good or incremental, or like, for example, the lenses are not as good as the Quest 3, which kind of sucks for a device that's good. But the fact is, the first time we're getting like a laptop chip in a standalone headset rather than like a smartphone chip. I think personas are absolutely amazing. I actually don't understand why anyone who's tried it could complain about it. Like, yeah, is it perfect? Like, no, but is it significantly better than any other shipped product that's even somewhat similar to this that's ever been released? Yes. Like there's nothing else like this. There's no way to scan your face and get anything even anywhere near this from any other product or solution. And codec avatars obviously like aren't a shipped product. So, that's like a non-starter. I think a lot of the software is really good. I think a lot of the software is half baked. I think a lot of the software is very questionable as to like what the utility is. I think there's like no good VR software really. I think that the experience for video on Apple Vision Pro, like the first party video experience, is better than anything we've ever seen before. I love big screen. I think big screen's great. But yeah, sorry, Apple knocked it out of the park. This is just better. It's purely better, and it's not even really a contest. Now, is it cross-platform? No. So like if I'm gonna be hanging out with people on other headsets, I'm still gonna use big screen. Big screen's great, and I think big screen's gonna learn a lot from Apple's experience. But I think that for the core use cases that you see them show off, like watching videos on planes, watching movies with friends, like taking spatial photos and videos, this is just a absolutely killer experience. They nailed the core use cases. Now we got to build the AR apps and the VR apps to match that.
Yeah. Diego, can you hear us okay now?
Yes, I can hear you okay. I've now done this 2 times to really, I just lose audio. And before I restarted the second time, I actually was not seeing the personas and the audio sync with the video. So it was clearly someone else's voice and something else going on the screen, and he was just like that. But so I also lost the chance to introduce myself. So I'm going to take this chance now while I still have it. So hello, everyone. My name is Diego Pulido. I am in New York. I'm from Colombia. And I am an interaction designer at Google, or I was until almost a month ago when I got unfortunately laid off in this crazy tech layoffs. So it came in at the perfect time for me to spend a lot of time with the Vision Pro, and actually instead of actually working, just spending time doing this. And this is perhaps I think I want to take my career next as a designer in tech. So almost perfect timing in a way. So I believe, Michael, you mentioned that you worked at NYU at the AR VR course. So I actually took the certification at NYU in 2021 during the middle of the pandemic, the UX AR awesome. VR, and I thought it was phenomenal. And
Todd?
So I'm not with I believe Regina's her name, it was I forget her name, but who was the instructor back then. But yes, it was incredible, and yeah, so obviously happy to be here experiencing this with everyone.
Mm-hmm. Cool,
awesome, great connecting.
Yeah. Piggybacking off what Nima was talking about with the incredible screen experience. I know Ian's been doing some tests with like SharePlay and stuff like that. I'm curious for anyone who's tried to do more social things inside the Apple Vision Pro, how that's feeling. Like, how does watching Moana with other people feel, Ian?
Oh yeah, it feels it's weird. I tried to do SharePlay when it was still like in beta or buggy, sort of just iOS to iOS device, and right, it would. I remember at some point they had two versions of like Paramount Plus that you could subscribe to, and one so you could like subscribe to the channel Paramount Plus and then the app Paramount Plus, and one of them was SharePlay enabled and one of them was not. So you could like subscribe to the same service from the same place, and one way would be able to share with friends and one wouldn't. And it was like that was last year, me trying to test it out. And now here I am in Vision Pro, and like Oz over there, we were throwing up content really, really quickly. The first night in Vision Pro, my friend and I, since junior high, were in Vision Pro across the United States together. And then Oz is passing around a 3D model of some capture he's done. And he puts it in my messages. And then I pull it out of my messages in another meeting with random people, random personas. And I'm like, look, I got this weird 3D model last night. And like there's no business purpose for any of this, right? I'm not doing anything to get work done. But like that whole interaction of receiving a 3D model and passing it along to the next person is what? I mean, there's been companies that went out of business with Windows Mixed Reality 7 years ago because they thought that they were getting put out of business by Microsoft getting there first. And like Microsoft did nothing with it, right? And here we are in 2024 actually able to move those models between devices. And that's not even beginning to discuss SharePlay, right? Like in SharePlay, the ability to like.
Have you gotten it to work? I tried SharePlay with other Vision Pro people, and it just like blacked it out, you know. And
no, I mean, I got.
Were you trying to record as you did it?
It depends if you're trying to do it with people outside of the US. I've been trying to share a lot with people in Colombia, in Europe, and even in Canada.
So
sometimes there's things that you cannot share.
Oh, I could SharePlay with people. So like my wife was sitting next to me in bed, and I was able to SharePlay when we were FaceTiming on her phone. But I couldn't, weirdly, I was not able to SharePlay to another Vision Pro user, right? So we were doing a FaceTime
I was.
call.
So
Really?
me and my partner, we both bought Super Mario Bros. The movie 3D, or at least I bought it. I think she rented it. So that already is a little bit of a mixed use, and that works pretty well.
Yeah.
And we bought it directly through Apple, so it's part of like the iTunes library or whatever. And we did the SharePlay, and we're in person together. So one of the reasons we really wanted these is because like we're in long distance, so we want to be able to hang out more in VR. We already do it in VR chat. We already hang out a lot, but this just seemed like a great way to watch movies. To give you guys context, in the past we'd use this Chrome plugin called Teleplay, and then we both jump on Discord together, and then we had to make sure the audio is mixed so that we can both hear each other and hear the movie, and then Teleplay synchronizes our Netflix libraries. It's an insane thing to have to do to be able to watch stuff together and that's not even VR. That's just like on a 2D display, right? So when we watch Super Mario Bros., we're actually physically together, and we're like next to each other. And there were some complexities there. So she has a pair of AirPod Pros with noise canceling. I don't. I just have regular AirPods. So she puts on the noise canceling headphones and then makes sure that my mic is on when we're FaceTiming. And then I don't use headphones at all. And I make sure to mute her so that I can hear her real voice rather than the FaceTime voice. And so there's no audio doubling there. And then because she's wearing headphones, I don't have to worry about hearing the audio out of her audio pods on the headset. And so we're both in the Vision Pro, and everything works perfectly except when she puts my FaceTime window so that she can see my persona where the video is. She freaks out because she's hearing my audio come from in front where the video is, but she physically feels me to her left. And she's like, this is too weird. I can't handle that. So she has to move my FaceTime window to the left where she can't see me, just so the audio is coming from the same place that she physically feels me. So it's pretty crazy stuff, but you know, we're learning a lot.
To be clear, I do have to add, like, have you guys had family tell you to turn your persona off? I have had family tell me to turn my persona off.
Not yet.
Not yet.
They don't like it.
No.
Really?
I mean, clearly
we
I'm not doing the. I'm not
timed my
like Alex has the most amazing capture. Like I can tell as someone who's spent a lot of time with capture rigs, right? But like, yeah, it's not working for me on like a really quick capture, and yeah, I don't like it.
I've noticed people dislike their own personas the most. So I was like, I talked to other people and they're like, "Oh, your persona, Eugene, is great," and I think it sucks, right? Like, and actually, from an AI perspective. So, because like, we know our faces best, but also my wife thinks my persona is really freaky. And what she said, this was her comment. She was like, "It looks like we took your face, Eugene, and mixed it with a generic Chinese person, and then they mashed it together, and that's what your persona looks like." And it's actually, I noticed this with AI images where I train a model, I fine tune a model on myself, and this is not like a racial comment. It's just there's more data, right? Just because there are more Chinese people in the world than I'm of Korean descent. I mean, I'm Korean American, but so it's like she noticed these differences, and she specifically said that she's like, "You look like a mashup between a Chinese person and yourself." So
what's interesting, Eugene, is that now like we're able to see you
Yeah.
both in real life and at the same time. So I'm just trying to make that comparison, or at least I was trying to do it while you didn't have the headset on, and now we're seeing it at the same time. Even just to see like
So
it's like you just died
to have that. Yeah,
you're ascending to heaven.
And now you're completely
Oh my God,
frozen
that's
in
so
the
funny.
Zoom. It looks like
And
your
so, like,
field of view is
And
leaving
then
you.
there's 2 layers of removal, right? Like
Mhm.
people watching this video aren't even getting the NVR experience we're getting right now out of these
Right.
avatars. And then this avatar persona experience is nowhere near as good as the FaceTime to FaceTime persona experience.
Agreed.
So like this
Right.
is
That's
like
true.
mid-tier persona quality even right now.
I gotta
So
say,
mid.
mine grew on me though. I hated it so much when I first scanned it. I looked at it and I was like, "Ew, that's like not me. I'm not into it." And then the more I
Right.
saw it, the more I'm like, now I associate with it. I'm like, "Oh, that is kind
I
I
think
don't
we're
like
also
'em at all.
missing the whole volumetric.
I-
Like FaceTime is completely changes how good these things look because seeing it in volume is
Mhm.
like unbelievably nice.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, Nima's
like-
muted. For me.
I like the eye contact. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm out of sync.
Yeah,
I like the
but
eye
Nima's
contact
silent.
of FaceTime, but the personas themselves I don't like. I think VRMs are way more expressive to have a stylized avatar, and these just to me they seem really uncanny. My wife also said similar things, like it doesn't look like you, and like Eugene, unlike when you train your face, or at least for me, like when I trained my face in Stable Diffusion, it made me more handsome. Like I feel like this turned my face into a pancake. And I tried a couple different captures. I used some studio lights. I'm like, this still sucks. It looks awful. I think Ian, yours looks pretty good. Alex, yours looks pretty good. Eugene's, yours definitely looks good, even if it doesn't totally look like you. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of hyper realism. I like style. I like stylized stuff. I don't know if I'll ever like hyper realism.
Well,
for-
it brings
for VR.
us. I think it's a good point. Brings us to the next question, which is like, well, VR chat. I mean, so Meta and Apple care so much, and Microsoft care so much about us being us, because they want to own identity, but also it's more professional. But look at VR chat. Everybody wants to be, a furry or an anime girl, and it's like that's just what the consumers have said, right? I mean, I'm sure we didn't think that when we first started creating this stuff, but that's just what people want to be, right? So
I think
I
it's a
wonder how
small
many
selected
people
group.
actually like understand that we all, like as Apple users, have memojis. I wonder how many people would have
Right.
preferred a memoji, or something that we had already created that is always within the parameters of what they allow us to do with a memoji versus this. Like, yeah, I'm curious to know how many people in fact got used to their memojis or use it often or anything like that, whether in texting or something like that.
Yeah.
The,
Well,
what-
for
what
anyone
it
who
makes
saw
me think
the
of is like, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to mention the Horizon Workroom stuff and how even the early promo videos of that, it felt off because they were such cartoonish characters where it's like, well, I would never do a business meeting with these. That being said, having like the emojis and the personas and these other things, it's nice to have options, and of course, hanging out with your friends is very different from trying to close a
Yeah.
deal. But yeah, I'd be curious to see how other opportunities for avatars and whatnot would work here.
We
I
do
think
our
being
show
able to do
and
photoreal
Alex, you,
avatars are like a minimum requirement. I think that you need to just be able to let people scan themselves into VR. And then from that point, yeah, if they want to use different avatars, that's fine. But I think that lots of people are not going to just jump to being furries. They're not going to jump to being anime characters. That's just like not reality. I think that right now we have a self-selecting group in VR chat and others, and I think that's fine. Like that's great. I love that. I use VR chat. I don't go as myself. I don't have a scan of myself in VR chat, right? But I don't think that's for wide. If we actually care about like wide adoption, I don't think that's the right first step. The right first step is let you be yourself in VR, and then let you make options from there.
I'm going to counter that with Bitmojis. I think
love Bitmojis.
Bitmojis are amazing. Like my parents use them, my sister uses them.
Yeah.
We have an ongoing Snapchat thread. Like my in-laws, like going back like probably 9 years, and they all love their Bitmojis, and they're super easy, and it's a mass adoption product, and it's pure stylized. Like you don't have to be a furry; you can still be yourself and have a stylized character. Anyway, that's my spiel on that.
I want to add, I love what people said just now. I want to add, well, two things. One's a non sequitur. If you look at my window, it looks like, do you see that my window in Apple Vision Pro has like the top of my head? You see how it's moving in XY space instead of Z space? And I think it's because I put the thing down. So now I can't reset even when I press reset. So that's a weird, I guess, bug.
That's weird. Yeah.
But
it's almost like you have it's a ghost of you. Eugene, like in a way. Like,
It's also the camera. The camera is above your avatar. It actually just needs to reset. So maybe move the window. It might reposition the virtual camera.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, just move zoom.
I did a reset
like,
and all that.
Like drag the window.
Drag the zoom window to a different angle.
I think I'd have to zoom in. I'd have to be up there. And
how funny.
It's down.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we saw you for a second.
Good for a second.
It's
yeah,
still
it's like
above
I have to
him.
move you into the floor, but I can't move you. I cannot move you. Anyway, you get the idea.
There's a virtual camera somewhere that you don't really have access to moving directly in Zoom.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Well, I'll leave this Apple Vision Pro and be back. But the question I have is then why? I mean, the whole furry, like we all underestimated the furries and the anime girls, but why did that become the standard?
I mean,
it
speak
just,
for yourself.
It just is. Well, I mean, I definitely did. I didn't think it was going to be as. But then, my wife and I during COVID, we would go to these like VR chat raves, and we would be dressed as like Sephiroth, from like Final Fantasy, like which I thought was pretty apropos.
Yeah.
But then it was like we were freaks. We were the non-anime girls, so we quickly learned to change. It's like when you show up to like a black tie wedding, in jeans and shorts. And I've not learned to. So now we of course try to dress appropriately. But like, how did this occur? How did this happen? And why doesn't I feel like if VR becomes mass stream popular, is there not a reason why that trend doesn't continue? Like, what would say? Yeah, like that's kind of my riposte, I suppose.
It's a self-selecting group. Like I think the people who are drawn to VR chat, they like come to it from like many of them aren't like VR users who are choosing to be social. It's like people who've like never used VR, like and don't use VR really outside of VR chat. And I think there's a variety of social reasons for that. And I don't know how much of it I want to get into. I mean,
let's get into it.
This is a whole subculture, but
this is a podcast live for the world. I mean,
well, I think
so
a lot
it's a whole
of it gets into,
podcast
like,
just about what Neem is trying not to talk about right now. Is what he's saying. I appreciate you. Yeah,
I'll just leave it at like
a subject you want to get
it's like
into.
the best way to feel like it lets them be themselves in a way they can't be in the real world. And I think that's a self-selecting group. Whereas as we get to mass adoption, people are comfortable with how they are in the real world, and they want to just get these augmented powers that we get from these face computers. That's really what they're going for, not trying to escape or be a different kind of person or be more of who they see themselves on the inside. They just want the AR powers, and they don't care about the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
I think some of it has to do with maybe how user friendly Pixiv software is for making these Vroid models that people are using in VR chat too, and you can really only make that one style of character with Vroid Studio. So I think that might have something to do with it. Like it could be a bit to do with the selection bias of why they made that software too. But it is interesting. to think about like why I took over VR chat.
So I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Maybe you guys can help me come back to the topic that you guys are talking about. But I'm thinking back on, I think it was PrimeSense, and I can't remember the company that used PrimeSense. I can't think of its name offhand, that Apple bought to form the basis of Animoji. But I did a demo, I want to say 2014 or so. I'm sitting in an audience in Orange County, and some rep from this company is there, and they're in the front of an audience of maybe a couple dozen believers in VR, doing this presentation of what this technology can do. So a PrimeSense camera sensing his facial movements, and he's going through a wheel of different characters he can switch to uh, on a fly. Just by the click of a button, he can become a girl character from being a
Face
man
rig,
character
right?
up in this window. And the moment I saw that, it clicked for me that I can perceive this person as a different gender and no longer bring whatever biases I have to that situation in that interaction with that person. That is what VR chat and what VR allows. And generally, it's what Ready Player One, what the stupid moral of Ready Player One ended up being at the end of the day. But like that is this great power is the ability to like remove bias from your viewer's eye should you choose to. And when I was thinking about what you guys were talking about, these different avatars were as now and the many different avatars I've been in VR, you have to live inside them for a little while till you know how how others see them and how to make use of them to be funny or to like even care that someone is with you. So like your eye contact all right now is alien to me. I don't know who is interested in what I'm saying. I don't know how my audience is responding. And I love Alex here. I can see him in his little window here because he is doing this crap every year. I love Alex's job. I love what he does. His Christmas. I just have to call it out on any opportunity I have. If you haven't seen them try to do a Christmas Carol with current VR technology, you got to do it. You got to go see it. Pay the ticket. Year after year, you're going to see the progression of VR technology play out in a Christmas Carol. But he's literally doing this year in and year out of like, how do I present all the little cool little body movements that we do at just the right moment to capture someone in a laugh or to do it. And when you see these VR chat people in these avatars, they're all on the camera going, huh. Like they're sticking their tongues out and they're doing these cute little moves or these cute little sounds to try to embody themselves as adorable or funny or cool, right? Beat Saber, embodying as Beat Saber and playing a whole badass song as Beat Saber, and you don't have to show a single audience member what you actually look like. You just get to show them exactly how badass you are in Beat Saber.
Mm. I love that. I love that take. And it seems to imply, Ian, I would posit then that take would be that more people are going to want to not be themselves, right? To some degree. I mean, sure, fine in work meetings, whatever. But, it's like, in the modern Web 2, we've gotten to Facebook. We had MySpace and GeoCities. And it's like VR chat's kind of like GeoCities, right? I feel like. And, we have yet to get to even the MySpace, let alone the Facebooks and Twitters and Instagrams. But it seems to imply that we'll get to a point where masks are kind of normal. And it's like, there's an Oscar Wilde quote that goes, give a man a mask and he'll tell you the truth, right? If a person is themselves, they won't tell you the truth. So that's kind of
you're most honest. The most honest you ever are is with your Google search box. That was the other one I've heard in the history of internet, right? Yeah, that's the only time
now
you ever
it's
tell the truth.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, the irony about ChatGPT is OpenAI has every search you've ever done and will have forever and use it to train models in the future. So it's actually a mask that you think is a mask, but is not a mask at all, right? It's probably the most naked you will ever be. Anything you put into ChatGPT will live longer than you for sure. So,
because it's so conversational compared to a Google search, it's like you're really revealing yourself there.
I mean, so I'll go way off topic here. So how many of you guys have the Ray-Ban glasses?
I don't.
I wish.
Yeah.
I'd love it. I'd love
So
one.
I got a pair for myself around Christmas time with prescription lenses, and I wanted to use them to capture a moment with my kids. I so I tried to take them out to Rockefeller Center here in New York to the rink, the ice skating rink here in New York, very famous. It was a disaster the first time I took them out there. It was I tried to like I did not properly think about how to teach two kids how to ice skate. And I'm not even going to recap more of that story. It just failed. So I'm going to take them back to the ice skating rink a second time, and I'm going to give them one-on-one attention each of the times, and I'm going to teach them how to ice skate properly, right? So now I'm going to take these Ray-Ban glasses to commemorate the moment. There's no recordings of the first attempt, right? Because that was a disaster we're not going to talk about, and it's lost to history. But now I'm taking the camera glasses out to the second time at the rink, and it's going to be a success, and I'm focused, right? I put the camera glasses on. I've got two videos of these camera glasses. They limit you to a minute each. So I've got 1 minute of one video and a half a minute of a second video, and I clipped them together and I put them on the internet. And it's this 1 minute of me getting on the ice skates myself. My kid is on her ice skates, and we're walking out to the rink. And I look ahead of me, and Natalie Portman is skating up to the edge of the ice skating rink with, I assume, a family member. And I look over at my kid. I'm like, did you just see Natalie Portman? I don't say that, right? I'm recording. I'm not going to ruin my video for this. So I look over. I'm like, did you just what? All right. So then we go out onto the ice skating rink, and we're getting over there. And when I've got some distance from Natalie Portman, I whisper to my kid, I think that was Natalie Portman over there, right? Okay. And then we keep going on our ice skating, right? And so now the whole time I've got this blinking white light in the corner of my vision, or like to alert other people around me that I'm recording. And I can't get it out of my mind that there's a celebrity out here in the midst of me trying to capture this sweet family moment of like, we're gonna have a good ice skating experience, okay? And also, here's Natalie Portman here as a celebrity. What I am so curious about is while I'm walking around here and I'm trying not to bother Natalie Portman as she's doing her ice skate, I'm just trying to enjoy the fact. But me and my kid are like, "Wow, it's Natalie Portman, right?" Like we're out ice skating and trying to do our thing. I'm wondering if the celebrity is bothered by the white light. I'm wondering if the celebrity is reminded of all the times that they've been surrounded by a sea of cameras with paparazzi everywhere and all the invasiveness that celebrities have to deal with all the darn time with cameras everywhere. And at the same time, like, so at the end of this, I've got a minute and a half of just this amazing Christmas moment of me and my kid riding around the ice skating rink. Oh, and also here's Natalie Portman and her personal family in the middle of my video. It's like, oh crap, do I feel bad that I'm a little bit of a paparazzi. I've just invaded this celebrity's personal space a little bit, and I didn't even mean to, even though it's a completely public space. There's the ethics. Like, I can go down a long list of why I'm completely in the right to do what I did in capturing that video, but it's still this awkward ickiness of just, why am I capturing this? For who? What is the larger theme of what I'm doing here? What if this is an entire sea? Like, I'm at a concert and it's a sea of 100 iPhones, all with blinking with red lights, all to capture the same video. We're 5 years away from everyone having a sea of white blinking lights to express that they're capturing spatial videos or these panoramic egocentric videos. So thank you for the time for my weird Natalie Portman story.
Well, I think that's so. I mean, if somebody wants to jump in on that, I've got a direct story though about when I took the skiing related to that, like the Vision Pro. I still have yet to release that video, but I went skiing like 2 days after getting this thing. Like, went on have some thoughts on that. But in the après ski part, we went to sit around a fire, and there were just a group of people, and a lot of people recognized it. Some people didn't, but they're like, "What is that? Is that a pair of ski goggles or not?" And I think it had to do with the eyes, the weird eyesight. Which I'd love to see if everyone thinks it's weird, especially the people I know. They're like, the eyesight is so strange, I wish you could turn it off. But the thing about what you said, Ian, was because when people knew it was Apple Vision Pro, they just assumed I was recording. And so people were kind of uncomfortable, and they were like not, kind of being themselves. I mean, they were being friendly, they were asking questions, but I remember there was this couple. The woman was fine. She didn't even know what Vision Pro was, but the guy was kind of clammed up and not saying anything, even though I wasn't recording, right? And then of course I lose batteries because this thing doesn't have good battery life, and then I take it off, and the guy just like is like more natural. He's like himself. He's like friendly, and it's like, the smartphone changed the way we see concerts. The smartphone, I mean, you could argue that modern movements like Black Lives Matter and like stuff where, I mean, all those things changed because we now have smartphones and we can record any bad thing that happens. I feel like this is going to supercharge that to crazy degrees.
Oh, so in journalism school, we studied how the perception of protests is altered by when the media shows up to the protest. If the media shows up to the protest while they're peaceful and setting up early, and take a whole bunch of pictures and present those, and those are the pictures that everyone sees, it's a very different thing than when the melee starts later on in the protest and there's a bunch of civil discourse. And of course, this is playing out in real time with, protesters, counter protesters, people showing up to protests that were created by people on the internet, and there's no one actually physically in the real world that ever wanted to protest in the first place. What you learn in journalism class, or like from holding a camera, is that yes, people act differently once they realize you're doing what you're doing. But there is eventually a threshold that certain journalists with certain subjects cross, where they just embed themselves with the people around them long enough that they forget the camera is there to a certain extent. And it's a really weird question to wonder whether we want to get there with these eyeglasses, like whether we want to assume, like, I want the blinking light to let everyone know that they're recording. What is it like to live in a world where we don't have that awkward feeling of weirdness? But like, yeah, if you go look at some of the best journalism photos of the 20th century, they're all from like these journalists that just sat with the family for a good 2 weeks, and the family forgot that the camera was in the room with them. And that's the path I guess we're on a little bit here.
I totally agree.
I see it from the other side. So like, I totally hear all the concerns about the people who are potentially being recorded, but from my perspective, I think that this is way less invasive than a separate camera or like a smartphone, because the cameras match where your eyes are. And my opinion, I have a very strong opinion about this, is I should have the freedom to record my own life and experiences from my own point of view. So I think that, obviously there's some limitations. If you have an expectation of privacy, you get thrown in jail if you record someone when they have an expectation of privacy. But I think if you're in public, you have zero expectation of privacy. If I am recording my own life and my experiences so I can go back and experience it, I think you have no right to complain. I don't even think that the lights matter. I don't think there needs to be blinking lights telling people you're recording. I think that ultimately it's my right, it's my life, and if I do something uncouth with it and I publish things I shouldn't publish, throw me in jail. But if I don't, I should be able to view my own memories whenever the hell I want. And I don't think anyone should be able to stop me.
And
yeah,
the
it's a
US
real
is
problem
actually
that
quite
a lot of
special.
people are actually addressing like that in terms of the life that you were saying just now. And as a part of the Glass Explorer program, over a decade ago with Google Glass, that is the number one thing that I got stopped by on the street all the time. I remember distinctively, I got stopped at the Detroit airport. I was actually taken into security because they thought that whatever I had on my face was a potential threat. And I ended up leaving the area of questioning with them, like hugging me and high-fiving me after I explained to them what it was, but they actually thought it was a legit concern. And oftentimes, so I used to live in Austin, Texas at the time. I used to walk around with Google Glass on, and people the first thing they would say was, "Are you recording me right now?" And they would change their demeanor around me just because I had this thing on. And for people that knew about Google Glass or how it operates, you would know where to look to see whether or not there was a little screen lid on. I mean, it didn't have the way of showing, hey, I'm recording you. But if you looked carefully enough, you would see if it's on or off. But the general population, general people wouldn't know that. So it is the equivalent of basically walking around with a phone sticking to your face, and people are not going to act as naturally as possible. So yeah, I think it's a problem that's still being addressed. For example, the Snapchat glasses, the Facebook glasses are all making sure that that light is on to indicate that. But I think that Mel was making a really good point here in terms of like in terms of having the freedom to record my own life. And at the end of the day, especially in the bigger the city, the more that we're surveilled in a way. So it's just like we're being recorded whether or not we want to. So at what point do we draw the line of what's allowed to be recorded and what isn't? I think that's something that is going to continue to be a point of discussion. I recently saw a video of a camera used for surveillance or for like security with enough AI embedded into it that it can tell, for example, in a coffee shop, how long has someone been sitting in a particular spot, how many coffees have been served, or whether or not like a person that should not be at the coffee shop because they try to rob something or something, that like immediately they can alert the entire staff that someone unwanted has shown up. So, that's very, like, I mean, fascinating on one hand. On the other hand, it's just like, where's the line and what's the limit to what we're recording and how we're going about to recording it. It's all still in development, I guess, right now.
Quick thing here is capitalism. Like the US is unique in the sense that we have a lot of there's quite a lot of countries that have a ton of surveillance cameras everywhere. The UK being one of them, it's a notorious one. The US is less so. Even there's they don't even have speed cameras on the streets. So I think, the expectation of privacy is pretty much gone across the world. The US is slowly kind of lagging behind there, but that's also kind of gone. We all have cameras now. We all have phones. We record everything. So just what it is.
And it affects generations differently too. Like, I think the younger someone is, the more they're like, oh yeah, my whole life is on the internet, versus, I'm 30, how old am I? 36 years old. And I have a lot of friends who, very strongly remember what it felt like to transition to a more public world with social networks and MySpace and the internet and all that. And some of them really preferred how things were before. And then our parents and everything, they are very uncomfortable with all the tech that's out there in the world, capturing all this data all the time. So, I think as everyone just gets older and dies off, it won't be a problem anymore.
The only technology that my parents are not, the only technology that my parents seem to be completely on board with is Bitmoji so far.
That won them over.
So I think a lot about doxing and whether that is going to become a more heinous crime as time goes on socially. To do that sort of thing. And to your point, Alex, of it affecting different generations differently, I imagine that getting used to the idea of trying on different identities in your teenage years, or even in your childhood, moving into your teenage years via Roblox to Minecraft to every other network from there, right? Like, you get a chance to kill out a profile and pick out a new one at any time on any of those platforms. And like, there's two generations here of people who are very used to doing that. That like the first people who got the internet and had no idea how to do. I don't know. I think kids are going to be used to trying on new personas, discarding them, and then picking up a new one pretty quickly in the future.
I feel like it's kind of reminiscent of, when you're growing up, you had like, maybe your punk phase or your goth phase or whatever it is, right? So, and now you can do it to a more complete degree,
So I love that. Yes. What I think we're so scared of is, how does the internet function to allow people to do that without what I said, doxing, right? How do you really release that previous phase of yourself? Because that is to a certain extent what my generation got. Like, there are so many embarrassing moments from my teenage years that are lost to time that many people in this generation don't get that benefit.
I feel like maybe if it becomes so widespread, it's not going to matter as much, right? Like, that thing that might have been embarrassing a generation ago, now it's like, well, everyone had cameras, so perhaps there's a societal shift. But I don't know. I think technology and time will tell. I loved all everyone's comments about this idea of cameras around you all the time, constant surveillance. Reminds me of the whole like, your search history will outlive you, which is a billboard I saw in San Francisco in 2015, I want to say, and it really stuck with me. And this conversation will probably outlive us. It'll be in the cloud somewhere, either on Twitch, i.e. Amazon, or Twitter, or X, or YouTube. But the other thing about this is, we talked about this before, so non sequitur, but the FaceTime is so much better, right, than the Zoom. Now, this just feels like a Zoom call, right, with like crappier avatar, like crappier video feeds in some ways. But the FaceTime is pretty amazing. But I gotta say, like, the Horizon Workrooms idea, or really like VR chat or Rec Room or whatever, like if we were sitting socially in a VR room, or even in our current room, and like Ian's over there and Alex is over there, that would be so much better, right? Like it would just be significantly better. Like this, I just feel like I'm in a Zoom call. I know, like it is cool we're doing this. Like I'm just learning a lot just from this experience. But man, this is like
No,
Zoom,
I mean,
yeah.
I got the people in this room. Oz here, I tried to get a game of chess going, and he's like, "I'm not going to subscribe to Apple Arcade," and more power to him, right? Like, I don't want to make him go and get a subscription, but like, we could hypothetically get pretty close to that campfire experience, but we're still blockaded by these stupid subscriptions that everyone wants to force down our throats to get like us to buy more. I don't know.
I think, by the way, I was FaceTiming someone that's on the beta now, and on the FaceTime options, it said there was like a grayed out option that said, I think spatial, or like it's clear that the spatial avatar stuff is coming soon, which is like the actual embodied avatars outside of the framing. So that's probably on the horizon in terms of like really having some spatiality.
I'm glad to
So
hear that.
what
I heard
I'm
that
stoked
the
about-
latest update is going to have that too. Or that the most immediate update happening for Vision Pro is going to be already an improvement on personas. I'm not sure if it's the one that you're talking about, Azad, but like, yes, I'm sure that's going to be something they're going to be paying a lot of attention to, because the general discourse of how weird personas are looking like, that's what the general public is mostly speaking about. That's what you see most of the articles, most of the tweets. So yes, I mean, the moment that they get that completely secure in terms of the perception, it's going to be amazing.
Can we talk about
what
the
I want to
fit,
see is
guys?
continuity camera. Have you guys seen that? Like, it's like the ability to do spatial video with your like phone. I want to see people who don't have a Vision Pro, who don't have the headset, be able to stream as 3D into the headset. So I want to start seeing
Sure.
either use continuity camera with your iPhone with a Mac, which gives you 3D, or maybe eventually 3D webcams start getting added to the Mac. Maybe the front-facing True Depth camera starts streaming 3D, so that we kind of have this kind of like true continuity between
Parity.
you have different levels of 3D, different levels of spatial, and it's all kind of used in different ways. Like right now, because we're like, one of the problems here is I can show you guys my hands, but I can't pull an object out of the real world and show it to you guys, right? Like if I'm holding something, you guys can't see it. But with the 3D webcams, you can. So I think that kind of becomes useful. I don't know.
I have a related question. I have a related question to that, and that is, and maybe Alex or others might know this, but I think we can't get so in theory, Personas right now is storing the facial data on device, right? It's supposed to not, there's these 51 blend shapes, at least with the old AR kit, there were 51. I don't know if there still are. So 50, the face plus the one tongue. If anyone knows how many blend shapes there are, I'd be curious to know. But the second question I have is, will developers get full access to all of the facial data? Because there's now a question around privacy. But then if you want to get, truly well face tracked VR avatars, like you got to get the face data. But I don't think Apple has given us access yet, right, to the face data.
No.
All right, so I don't have an answer to that question, but I need to take us off. I need to ask where'd he go? Is he still there? Yeah. So Alex, you're gonna have the answer to this question. I was on a call with Norm from Tested, and unfortunately the recording quality wasn't great, so I'm just gonna let it die. But in that call, we got into this, and he pointed out that Apple put up terms on the release date of Apple Vision Pro saying that they will store your persona data on the devices of the people you call for up to 30 days in an encrypted way.
Oh.
Which is really, really interesting. And if you take it a few steps further, and this is the question that Alex will uniquely probably be able to answer, what is the likelihood that this video call, that our personas are lower bandwidth than a video stream?
Oh, fascinating. Well, okay, that's really interesting, because blend shape data, of course, is actually pretty light. And then the actual models themselves, I wonder what format these are in, if it's like a USDZ or a GLTF or something like that. But I think it is possible, yeah. And then that allows for, of course, I'm thinking about live events and live performances, the potential of having like a concert or a live show experience that is actually fairly lightweight if, developers ever do get access to this data. So that's very exciting. Good to know, Ian.
Yeah, and actually, from our development, I can say, at least with ARKit, I mean, this is with Unreal Engine, but when we're using ARKit, like the phone, the front-facing phone, I think it was basically each blend shape's like a floating point, right? It might be a little bit more. So you got like 51 floating points over maybe 24 FPS or maybe up to 60, probably not more than that. Because even if you're running at 90 hertz, this is a 90 hertz device, right? You just upscale 24, upscale 30. So it's really light. So compared to a video call, even with compression, definitely the data coming out of here is much, much lighter. So with full body tracking, FBT, you've got basically 6 points of tracking. Well, I'm talking about with full body. So you got 3 points of tracking with the hands, controllers in here, roll, pitch, yaw, but then also XYZ space, Euclidean space. Then you add 6 points. I mean, some people have 11-point tracking, but let's just say the basic full body tracking, 6 points. And then you had 51 floating points for your face. So it was like your face is much more than your body in terms of data, but it's not that much more, right? So, and you can get like, 80 people in a VR chat room. And I mean, unless you have a 4090, it's probably not going to run well, but it runs. So, but it's interesting that that's why in VR chat, when you have face tracking, whether it's through Quest Pro or through the Vive Pro I, which is not a great product. Just sorry, HTC, I love you guys, but I have a lot of friends there, but it's, it's lacking as a product. But that's why whenever you have face tracking enabled, I think even VR chat turned Quest Pro face tracking, like deprioritized it so that your face is like a slideshow in VR chat because it's just so much more data than your body, but it's not that much more data. So was one of the things I was surprised by. But the question that Ian brought up that I have is around like privacy of that data, right? But also I want to get access to that data as a developer, so I can have face tracking in my app. But yeah, it's obviously privacy concerns and questions.
So Eugene, for your question, the early one, one of the things that I had a friend from Apple actually tell me is that since any app can access the persona as though it's a camera feed, it's actually super, super easy to write like a library that can read the camera feed and decode all of the blend shapes from the persona and use that to retarget into an app. Now, think of how crazy that is, because it basically means that all of their grandstanding about being like, okay, well, for privacy, we're not going to give you access to that. If you're giving me a camera feed that gives me all the blend shapes anyway, I can just turn that back into the raw blend shapes I need to retarget an avatar. And I think that the first company or first person who creates a library to do that, I think they're probably going to make a good amount of money. I think a lot of people are going to buy that library.
You're not going to get something like compression artifacts through that sieve of reconstruction?
I'm sure you will, but have you ever, I don't know if you ever looked at like MediaPipe. Like MediaPipe already works with the monoscopic system, and that's like a much more complex problem set. Like the exact parameters of what what a persona is, right? Like with MediaPipe, it has to read like the entire frame and say like what's a human, what's not a human, all this kind of stuff. When you get the video frame from like a persona, you're like, that is a face. I know what the face looks like. Now I just got to figure out what their eyes are doing, what their mouth is doing, etc. I think that writing something optimized like that and knowing that you have the full access to like all of the neural cores on an M2 to do that, and like knowing the exact target hardware to do that, I think makes this problem like really easy, kind of. I think like, someone's going to do this real quick and it's going to be really useful because we'll be able to puppeteer VR chat avatars, or maybe like Virtual Desktop will have this built in, and I think it'll be relatively easy to do. It doesn't seem very hard, and like I said, an Apple employee is the one who told me about it, so it seems like a pretty big loophole. They were like, oh, we don't really have a solve for this. If we want apps to be able to access the camera, the apps can access the camera, and that means that you can basically decode it.
That's crazy.
Well, personas are optional. You don't need to set up a persona to get into an app, a Vision Pro, and then Optic ID is optional too. So I've wondered whether we'll get Animoji on a headset that doesn't face an eye track, and then you do have a legitimate like layer of what you would actually have a barrier between the actual facial expressions you're making then and what's actually getting broadcast over the network.
I'm just glad that if users want it, they have a potential path forward, because I think it's something that I want. I want to be able to use VR chat with face tracking on a Vision Pro, and I'm glad there's at least some way to make that happen in the near future.
Can we talk about fit, guys? Like Vision Pro Fit and ergonomics and okay. Yeah, I honestly have to say it is unforgivable to Apple to ship a headset like this. Like it is on the scale of I really thought when the early reviews came out, oh, it's heavy, it's thing. I was like, these are non-VR people. They don't know how to like wear something right. I have to say it is unforgivably bad. Like thank God I finally found some way to wear the dual strap in a way that I can wear it for more than 15 minutes, but it's again unforgivable. You've had years, you've had multiple iterations that you can copy from, and we know Apple doesn't like to like really try other devices and try to I get that. That's probably how they ended up here. And there's some Johnny Ive sort of like group where they're like, no, it's got to look amazing, it's got to have the single band or whatever the hell, and then they realize, oh, that's just really bad, let's add the top strap, and then they realize, oh, that looks kind of silly, we should really develop like something very like laid down the strap like the dual strap does. But it's the
Tell us
fact
how you,
that
tell
this
us
is
how you
how it
really think, man.
feels-
Tell us how you really think, man.
it's I don't know, man. Like this is by far the worst part of the device. I don't care about anything else. Like all the other things are fine, but everything else doesn't work if it doesn't fit you well, or it doesn't you can't wear it for more than whatever minutes. So I've been in here now for probably 4 or 5 hours. I've been working all day in it. It's actually the first day that I've been able to work like most of my day in it, and I'm happy with how it's working, but I'm constantly shifting it. I am shifting every 10-15 minutes and giving my cheeks a rest, and it's really bad. I'm shocked that this is how they shipped it.
Does anyone like that? Does anyone like the fit?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
exactly
curious because I don't think anybody does, right? I've not talked to a single person who likes the fit.
I don't think it's the worst
Come on,
headset I've
how
ever
many of you
used,
guys
but
have spent this?
It's worse than average.
How much have you guys spent as much time in VR with Vision Pro as you've spent with any other headset you've ever owned?
Yeah,
Not
I've
yet.
had a long session. I mean, I spent like 3 hours, over 3 hours on a plane watching a movie, which is like a very long session. I have multiple headsets I've never had a 3 hour session in. I mean, I have many that I have, right? Like Vive Pro 2, I've spent over 3 hours, I've spent hours and hours in the original Vive, Quest 3. But like, like a Quest 2, I could never, ever last like even 2 hours in a Quest 2. The Quest 2 is just so uncomfortable. Even with other straps, it's uncomfortable.
Worse than Quest
I don't
1
know.
even.
Yeah, I agree. But the Vision Pro, I don't think it's like the worst headset ever made, but it is below average comfort. I did not feel good for those 3 hours, but the experience was so good that I just put up with it. I was like, oh man, this movie is just amazing. I get to
The
like not
experience was so good. I just put up with it. I'm gonna remember that one. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah.
No doubt.
Ooh,
No
I'll
doubt.
give another a way to think of this. So we talk about cognitive load, and then I think we kind of balance that with the physical load, because one of the reasons I think I'm willing to stomach being in this for hours at a time is there's not much cognitive load at all. It's not that comfortable, but the ability to easily watch movies and get things done and get into a flow state to be very productive. I've never experienced that in the Quest Pro, which for me is my most comfortable VR headset right now. So, anytime I am doing something in the Quest Pro, it requires so much more focus and energy that I just wouldn't stay in there as long. So I think as soon as some third-party straps come out for this, I'll be in here all day.
Yeah.
I just shared in the chat a photo of a selfie I took of me wearing it over 3 hours, and you can distinctively see those lines marked all over my face.
My big screen Beyond is still coming in. It sounds like some people own it, but that's 125 grams. This is 620 something grams. I really think that this device, like no other changes, but at maybe up to 200 grams would be a great device all in one. Like meaning mass market, but I mean, I fear, someone mentioned this, like first time VR headset mistakes, right? Like we met with the Apple Reality team like years ago, like 6, 7 years ago, and they're very nice, but it was clear that they had their own thoughts and that they didn't really want to listen or really even listen to feedback, right? I mean, because this thing made the same mistake when we're at Oculus and we're making CV1, right? So obviously, like whatever Crescent Bay, these early prototypes. Eventually, the CV1 we had fabric on it, right? Even Quest 1 had fabric because it feels nice, it looks cool. But it turns out people want to play Beat Saber and sweat all over the thing with Expert Plus. That's why plastic was not only lighter, but also just more practical. Here, it's like the heaviness, the front heaviness, same mistake, the fabric. I mean, I was just going skiing with it, which I'm sure Apple would not, I'm sure I don't know how many of them tested going on a ski resort for a long time, but even though it's cold, you sweat. And I got to say, this thing wasn't that great for the sweat. So certainly wasn't good from a balance perspective. So anyway, I think the things we don't predict and that consumers tell us, I really hope consumers tell Apple via their feedback and do listen and do the things like don't put so much aluminum and glass on this thing, for example, make it lighter, make it less front heavy. So
the other thing that I did notice after running for 3 hours to the point is I have to say, I hope I'm not making this up, but I did feel somewhat of a neck string. Like there's something along the sides of my neck that really felt different in a way that
you're right.
I know that I haven't experienced before.
Oh fuck! I just noticed it. I honestly, you just pointed it out, and I can feel it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know how long you've been wearing this out right now, but yeah.
I've been in it since like 7:30 this morning, and it's noon or whatever now. Like it's,
I did notice about that. I mean, obviously we're really pushing it, or some of us are putting it to the test for a long time. But I did notice exactly. But I did notice that my neck did feel some sort of strain that I had never felt before, and there is the only one delta is that I'm wearing this nearly $4,000 thing on my face. That's the only thing.
So, how many of you guys are iPhone owners?
I am. Yeah.
Everyone,
raise your hand.
All right, tell me if you've been an iPhone owner more than 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting little survey there.
10 years? What's the iPhone 10 years ago?
iPhone 5, iPhone 4 GS, or 4S, 4S, or something like that.
Since the first iPhone, since the very first.
Wow. iPhone 12 was my first one.
So my question for all of you is, how much do you think iPhones will change and how quickly to accommodate Vision Pro? Because I don't want an iPhone with a screen on it anymore. I want an iPhone with a battery.
Well, what's interesting is with an iPhone 15 right now, of course, you can plug your Vision Pro directly into the iPhone to use its battery, which is kind of cool. But I know what you mean, Ian. Like a lot of the ways that the iPhone could evolve, you would hope that it's going to be more symbiotic with this.
Yeah, I mean, like I will be using my iPhone for more in and out activities going forward, and fewer long form. Like I've been using my iPhone for years and years and years as a laptop that's with me on the go, just because I don't have a laptop with me on the go. So like I'll force a ton of work into this little itty bitty device in my hand that it really doesn't belong on. And what this headset kind of frees you up to do is take some of that work back off the phone into the headset. And like you could do some more fun things with this device. Like, I don't know, I'll take like a foldable phone. I heard they were looking at foldable phones. I know Samsung's been doing it for a long time, but like a brick. I want a power brick in my pocket that I can plug into my headset. And when you guys are talking about how to reduce weight, let's put more of the processing in the thing in your pocket.
Yeah. Those were the rumors for the longest time as well, that this would be a super lightweight device and it would draw its, CPU power from your phone. I'm holding my phone right now. Can't you tell? No.
But I could see the hand shape of the phone in your hand. The way that you were using your hand was that of the one that you would hold phone, which is actually really funny because like I don't know if you can. I'm trying to my face, but this is how talking on the phone is for a certain amount of people of a certain age. And the younger you go, like they say, do the motion of a phone. If you're like millennials and all of this, and when you ask Gen Z or below, like do the shape of a phone, and people usually just go like this, and they use this hand. Amazing.
I'd be happy to
play a game called "What Am I Holding?"
a new game for Apple Vision Pro users. What am I holding?
By the way, welcome Tom Krikorian. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, to the space. Maybe Tom, I'd love to get your opinion on the question at hand, but maybe give us a quick intro on this live stream.
Yeah, so I'm Tom, and I'm from France, and I'm a developer. Can you hear me, by the way? I don't see
Yes.
on Zoom.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see my green light going on. But yeah, I'm a developer, and I came to the US a few days ago to pick up my Vision Pro. Now I'm back in Paris and ready to do some stuff on it.
Well,
Awesome.
I wonder how many people like flew into the US just to do this specifically, just like Tom did. I mean, I there has to be a number of people who came in or were waiting for that release day to pick theirs up.
Yeah, I saw a few people on Twitter talking about flying to the US, so I'm sure we are many.
Adds a couple $1,000 to that price tag, doesn't it?
Right?
So, have you tried using it in a Parisian cafe or something? I mean, I'm curious what.
Oh, I came back yesterday and I basically slept for 15 hours and.
Tom, your audio just cut out.
Do you see this is Apple really controlling who gets to use it? They're like, you must VPN into the US. They will cut you off.
Yeah.
let me DM him. Maybe he doesn't know.
Tom,
I'm under the impression that Tom is experiencing what I have already experienced 3 times in this phone call, which is that I lose audio, that no one hear me, and like that's it. I had to reset. So maybe Tom should maybe try and resetting the device as well.
I'll tell him to force quit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think it's Zoom messing up the audio transfer? Do you think it's the personas or the OS failing the audio system?
Ooh,
tough to tell.
I was on a 2-hour Zoom call as my persona, and it was fine the whole time. So,
I was on a 3-hour FaceTime call and I had no issues. So
yeah, this is the first time that I've experienced issues myself too. Like I started to go the route of closing all the other apps, thinking that that's going to do anything. Like I'm just like maybe it's just like overloading the processes or something like that. So, but yes, it's happened. I think it may be along the lines of like bugs here and there for something that's just its first release or something like that. I don't know.
I have to say, speaking of comfort, I find this thing so frustrating sometimes. Like to use, and I've noticed that since the unboxing. I mean, look, I'm grateful it's here, so I know we're live and we're talking publicly, but I did post an unboxing talking about this, and it's just like typing in VR, for example, still sucks. Whether you do this thing, whether you do this thing or whether you do this thing,
yeah.
It's just awful, right? And then when you sign in, you would think that connecting to your iPhone would be just like automatic, right? Like even the Meta Quest, where you connect to the Quest and it signs you in. Instead, you got to type in your email address, and then you got to type in your iCloud password.
That blew my mind.
And then you got to type in. Yeah, it's not a good experience. And then this thing fails so much. It's just so buggy, right? Travel mode doesn't work like it's supposed to if you're on a subway or if you're on a ski lift like I was, where it's not constant acceleration or constant velocity. So
they only advertise travel mode for airplanes specifically. They say don't use bars, don't use it
except
other
that they
places.
couldn't call it airplane mode because that exists already. So that's
exactly yeah.
Exactly.
And I did have it work in a car. I think it depends on the car too. We had someone else who said it just didn't work for them, but I was in a car and it worked fine. I also found that if you are in travel mode and you put your hand up near any one of the bottom cameras, even if you're just scratching your nose, tracking just fails and it'll say tracking has failed. So I was thinking, and this is just my hypothesis, it might not be true, but I think it's possible that they're doing 6DoF head tracking relative to your body. So they're not even tracking the rest of the surroundings. They're just looking where your body is, and as your head moves relative to your body, that's how they're doing the 6DoF, which if that's how they're doing it, that is genius. That's nuts. I think it's very cool for them if that's how it works.
So yesterday I noticed something which surprised me. Not being in travel mode, I was on my couch in a dark lit room yesterday with a projector. I have a big projector on my wall, and the Apple TV screensaver came on, which is a slow drone shot. And as it was slowly moving, everything drifted along with it. And I was like, this is interesting that they're relying so much on computer vision for. Well, I guess it's it's not like when you're in travel mode, the IMUs are turned off, so it's pure computer vision. But when you're not in travel mode, you'd think it would rely more on IMU to know if there's any sort of movement. But I guess now that I just thought about it, the velocity was constant, or the speed was constant of the drone. So it's like the IMU wasn't in conflict with the visuals, which is like it's slowly moving. So I guess it does rely on a lot on computer vision. But yeah, don't watch with moving things around you. And Nima, when you're using in the car with travel mode, was it daytime? And could the headset see outside, like with everything moving? Because I would expect for travel mode to only work when the environment is static, which is like in a plane, or like all the features are actually static.
Yeah, great question. So it was during a long, like 7-hour road trip, 2 directions, from Dallas to New Orleans, then back from New Orleans to Dallas. And it during the day had almost no issues. Tracking was almost never lost unless I did something like I didn't realize at the time. I didn't realize until I was flying back from Dallas to California, but it was basically losing it whenever I did anything to cover the lower cameras. So during the day, it was actually like pretty much flawless, but I don't think that was because the daytime outside is what it was seeing. I think it was like the daytime made sure the inside of the car was bright enough for it to see everything. And then when it got really dark, that's when it just started failing all the time. It's not like it didn't work, but it would be like every minute or two I would get a tracking loss. And at that point, it's just like, well, I don't even want to use this anymore. If like my video keeps cutting out every minute or two. When it's I'd say like as long as it's every 10 to 15 minutes, you like don't care because it recovers within 10 seconds. You're like, oh, like, yeah, whatever. Like 10 seconds every 10, 15 minutes, like not a big deal. But yeah, when it's every like minute or two, you're just like, I don't want to use this anymore. So dark car without the light on, travel mode does not work. I will say dark airplane, like when they turn all the lights down, there's still enough light that they have with like the LED strips and stuff that I had no issues. So dark airplane was fine. Dark car, too dark.
I brought it
And
in
you felt
the
like the hand
car.
tracking was okay in the dark.
Yeah, hand tracking works flawlessly in the dark because I think with that one they're using LiDAR. I don't know that they're using LiDAR for the other types of tracking like during travel mode. But yeah, LiDAR, no difference. The only difference is it gives you the warning that says like your hand segmentation may not work properly in the dark. But as far as the actual quality of the hand tracking, seemed to be identical. I saw no difference in accuracy.
When I brought in the car, I had similar experiences to you, but the one thing I noticed was it was fine. And I brought it, by the way, because I thought it would be the best way to work in the car, like not because for the memes. I mean, partly it was just an experiment, but part of it was just like, I would rather have a
Did
big
it for the
4K
memes.
display. I'd rather have a big 4K display for, the car ride. And, whenever we would turn or acceleration we would accelerate or decelerate, it really struggled, right? But definitely on turns, it would just like cut out. And I just found it like mostly unusable, right? Which was very disappointing.
What if while you're in the car driving, you're pinching to hold a window? I guess you wouldn't be in travel mode for that, but would that kind of help the screen stay in place?
No, because it would just like do the whole we've lost tracking kind of thing, right? It's like tracking
Okay.
lost. Yeah. Make sure you're still
Right.
in travel mode. Make sure you're sitting still. So that was
Gotcha. Real quick, as long as we're talking about, some of the technical aspects of how this works, does anyone have any theories or know how it's able to be like, oh, look, a MacBook. Would you like to connect to that MacBook? Is it image marker tracking? Like it knows what a MacBook keyboard looks like? Like, what do you think makes that happen?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think part
I
of
have no
it is
idea. I would
probably
love to know.
I would imagine it's some like how AirDrop works when it's just like it is proximity based, it is directional as well with like the U1 or the U2 chips. Although I don't know what chips this Vision Pro contains. So that's probably like the first step, and then the second step, they are doing computer vision stuff because you do see the connect button coming above and tracking your display. So I think it's probably like multi-step solution, but I'm really glad they have the control center option for it because I hate having to wait for that pop-up to come up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're tracking the keyboard because the keyboard has a lot of feature points and it's pretty distinctive. But yeah, in addition to that, they probably have to confirm it just like Oz said, through like the same AirDrop system or something like that. That's why it says you need to be your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi needs to be on. They have like the iBeacon system, I want to say. I don't remember what it's called, but in public places, you can like install this like iBeacon system that also uses Bluetooth to identify when like devices are around. So I think it's like relatively similar technology. Is like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi are both just broadcasting, and you can, even if you don't get a direct connection, you can like read what people are broadcasting and make some assessments there.
I have a request. Sorry, a non sequitur, but it looks like Ian sent me a message on Twitter. He said he dropped off because he ran out of batteries, which of course has been a problem for me too. but also, folks, there's we're getting more and more viewers, which is great. Some great comments. But if everyone here, I know it's hard with your Vision Pro, but if you guys can retweet the live stream, which I'm at EYC. So fairly easy, then hopefully we can get more folks up here because we're getting some good, interesting questions. And for those who are actually listening to live stream on either X or elsewhere, do feel free to ask questions, and hopefully the group here, we can answer or address some of that. So, but back to the bugs. Back to the bugs.
I have a quick one. Are you guys feeling the fan on your right eye, like every so often? Because it's very noticeable for me.
My eyes get
dries
dry.
on my eye, basically. Yeah.
My eyes get dry.
Yeah.
And it's because there's airflow, and it's a mesh, like between the mesh that's covering the lenses themselves. I think that's where the air is kind of is leaking through, and it's my right eye always that's getting super dry, and it's like, again, how that, I don't know. That's a little unexpected, to be honest.
My first day, I slept with it on, like accidentally. I was watching a 3D movie. I think I was watching Dune or something on my ceiling. So I was lying down, and my wife comes in, and she sees me asleep. At first, I think she thought I was just watching the movie, but then she realized I was sleeping. And when I woke up, I noticed two things. One was my eyes were very dry, generally, like super dry for what you said. But number two, because I had just woken up, I thought that I was just looking at, reality, that my wife, like as a real person, forgetting I had the Vision Pro on, right? So it was a moment of like, it was just kind of weird. It was a weird sci-fi moment where I was obviously in AR in reality, but I just my brain didn't connect that, right? I was just in the reality. So that was interesting.
I don't know why, but I get more eye strain with the Vision Pro than pretty much any other headset. Like right now, I feel mostly fine. My eyes are like slightly dry, but there have been other times that I've used it, and 10 to 15 minutes in, my eyes are just like tired, and there's like it just, and I don't get that. And I have other headsets. Like I use other headsets for very long periods of time. I do not have that problem. I think that some people have said it's probably a mixture of both the airflow drying out your eyes, in addition to the fact that the UI is based on like looking at things and tapping. I will say that during this call, I'm basically not looking at things and tapping. I'm just like chilling, and my eyes feel mostly fine. So the times that I have had eye strain were times where I'm like trying to type with the keyboard and all that kind of stuff. So maybe there's something to that. I don't really know, just a hypothesis, but same thing I said before. It's like the experience is so good that I push through it, but I do have to be more wary about this. Whereas like, I don't think about eye strain even a little bit in my Vive Pro 2 or my Quest 3. I wear them as long as I want. And I'd say that the head comfort is the bigger problem rather than any sort of eye issues.
I will say that this is
right
not exactly a. Oh, that's right. Also, funny. This is not what I was going to say, aside, but also my right eye is the one that seems to be bugging me, not my left. I don't know why. Just
it must
coincidentally,
be. It must be that the GPU is on the right side, or the CPU is on the right side, and it's like, because there's two fans. And they're in front of both eyes, and one of them is probably moving faster than the other. But yeah, I can feel the airflow in front of my right eye. Like I can feel a temperature difference, and I'm like, that's why I'm closing one eye. I'm just trying to keep it a little wet.
Interesting. Try forcing yourself to yawn. That will automatically make your eyes a little like, yeah, because it's a natural process of the eye. What I was gonna say though is that I didn't think about doing this before, but I didn't think about finding myself looking at my phone so much with the headset, and because of Face ID, it doesn't recognize it. So that's one thing that I'm thinking, wow, I never thought that I would like that they didn't think about people using their phones actively while with the Vision Pro on, in a way that you always have to type in the passcode. I wonder if that's something maybe
true,
they can address.
But
later.
they do have a solution for that. The solution is you buy an Apple Watch and you turn on the feature. So when I looked it up, they were like, oh, if you have an Apple Watch and you have it set up, and you have all these things turned on,
of course there's a solution.
It treats the Vision Pro as a mask or glasses, because it has like that unlock with mask or glasses system, and it'll treat the Vision Pro as like a mask / glasses. And if you have the Apple Watch on, it'll just automatically unlock your phone for you and just pass the Face ID. So pretty ridiculous, but Apple's solution to fixing your problem is to spend
buy an
more
Apple
money.
Watch.
Just
spend
spend
hundreds of
more money.
dollars.
Easy solution.
Simply give us more money. That's the only way, for sure.
Today,
By the way, I can't
my
believe that they
Face
didn't.
ID sorry,
That they didn't
my
put Apple
my Face
Watch
ID
on the
actually
hands if you have one.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually a very good point. My Face ID actually was working for me with the headset today, even without the beta. I'm still on the original thing, and I don't know why. I was like, could it be the eyesight? Like somehow but no, maybe it's just inaccurate, but it worked.
Interesting. Speaking of money,
I was able to prepare before we speak about money, Eugene. I was just gonna say that I just prepared myself a whole lunch in the kitchen and my desk. And when I stepped away from my desk into the kitchen, I just love how not only just the image stayed there, of course, but also like I could hear everyone speaking just slightly further away from me. It's almost like I was just physically, and it's so subtle, but then so cool that it was incredible. So what I did is I just I pinch and grabbed the window and put you all in my kitchen so I could hear you better. But the moment that I stepped away without thinking about it, it's incredible. It felt like I was leaving the room, the actual physical room. That detail was amazing.
Yeah, when I was skiing,
I've been switching between
that
sitting
front.
up and laying down.
Yeah,
and I just like move the window, and I don't know that I don't think any of you guys noticed. So like whether I've been laying down or sitting up, it kind of just lets you do the same thing, and I think that's a pretty beautiful ergonomic benefit for when you're doing like Zoom calls at like work or whatever. Is you still see me, I can do everything I want, but if I'm laying down, like that's great. I get to relax while being just as productive.
When I was doing a FaceTime call on while skiing, similar to what Nima and Diego just said, you had the thing here, right, in space. And the first thing was people like the person I was FaceTiming with didn't know that, like they knew I was skiing because I was doing a screen share. So they were like, wow, this is going to change live streaming. But then when I went back to the persona, they were like, I can't tell that you're skiing, obviously, right? Because even the noise cancellation is good. But the interesting thing is when I skied away from the FaceTime thing, there was a few things. First off, I heard like a muffled sound behind me. I went away pretty fast. It was like maybe hundreds of vertical feet, so really far behind. I couldn't hear them, but they could hear me. So whenever I was talking on this quote live stream of me skiing, they saw me skiing. They heard me talking. I couldn't hear them, but when they did talk, I would hear something muffled way back, hundreds of feet back. So that was just an interesting tidbit. But I do want to get to the money thing, and this is about it. So we all know AI. If you have an AI startup, and it's doing well, you're good. VCs want to back you. VR is like, I mean, even when Meta changed its name, we had a brief moment, but we are still, I think, in the trough of disillusionment when we talk about the Gartner hype cycle, right? People just don't think VR is going to be a thing, but this has gotten a lot of hype. But I think a lot of us think this is still a ways away from mass adoption. So I guess the question I have for y'all, and we have some developers here, this is super cool to develop on, and I'm so glad Apple's in the game. But are developers going to be able to finally eat, or are they still going to be eating ramen? Because it's already been 10 years of eating ramen, right? So like, is it going to be 10 more years of ramen? Because I don't think this device specifically, 500,000 units maybe? I think this year, 300,000 or something max. They've already sold, 200K? I mean, you're not going to be able to eat off that, right? I mean, there's like Synth Riders and some of these other games that are on there, but I feel like most developers still, this is not the device, right? It's like Apple Vision Pro 3, maybe, at the earliest.
I think it sort of depends.
Yeah. So the question I have for y'all is, is this really changing the game, or are developers still chugging ramen and going out of business for the next half decade or so? What do y'all think?
Yeah, who are you and what are you?
Sorry. I think we lost the audio of Nima. Can anyone hear Nima?
No.
Nima.
Zoom is so buggy.
No, I lost it. Yeah.
No.
I lost Nima,
yeah.
and I believe Azad is also trying to speak, and I also cannot hear
Yeah,
Azad.
I lost both of them.
Azad, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I know app developers who launched with an app in the Apple Vision Pro store, and as of a couple days ago, no one had downloaded it. I mean, these are paid apps, but like it just gives you a sense of the app discovery. I think also needs a lot of work. It is kind of hard to find anything besides the like 6 apps that Apple's featuring. But then, yeah, it's a small user base. So I think the only way you make money with this is in an enterprise use case. We're talking to some of our clients right now about very, particular settings of using this that wouldn't even require an app available to the public. It could be test flight forever. And then there's instances where you are increasing the value of an app that is also on iPhones and iPads or MacBooks by also having a version of it that works on here. And it's kind of a value add, but you're not rewriting all the code from scratch. You're turning it into a volume or slightly enhancing the window. I think the Disney Plus app is a great example. Like it's not a complete overhaul of what the Disney Plus app is, but they've got like a 3D category. They've added some environments. I can't imagine it was a huge development cycle to do that. So yeah, I think we'll see a lot of that happening.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you are and what you're building. I think that if you're like a solo dev, you might actually make some good money on the Apple Vision Pro store. For example, think about the Spatialify app. It costs $3. It lets you convert from SBS to spatial video and vice versa, which is a pretty specific use case that's only really useful for the Vision Pro. And I think that solo dev was probably going to sell a few 100,000 units at $3 easily. Like I think it's like almost like a must-have app if you have a Vision Pro. I think that for other indie devs making games, I think that's also a reality. Is like you might find success this year. You spend 3 to 9 months building a thing, and you end up making $500,000 to $1 million off the user base. I don't think that this is going to change the ball game for massive companies. I think for most devs and most companies, this is a dev kit, and you're building for the Apple Vision or the Apple Vision Air that's going to come in 2 to 4 years. And I think that's a perfectly fine place to be. I don't think that this changes the market economics. I think if you're making games, you should probably still be building for Quest. But I do think the answer is it just depends on who you are. I think if you're like a solo developer, you might actually have a better chance making money here than you do on the Quest. Getting on the Quest store is super hard. The market is like looking for like AAA games. If you build something cool here that adds value, I can see a lot of us and a lot of customers buying it, which I think is, a different world than what you get on a lot of other VR and AR platforms.
To add to that, Nima, it's interesting that a lot of the popular Quest games like Beat Saber, 4 people in the Czech Republic, right? I think they added a 5th before getting bought by Meta, a marketing person, I believe. You got Gorilla Tag, like 1 person. I mean, they were part of the Echo Arena team, but still 1 person who was the original developer. Onward, also, I remember I met Dante, the developer, the original developer. Now it's a bigger team, of course. So totally get your thing there. I really feel like indie devs have still in many ways an advantage on this thing. But it points to something Alex, who I know just rejoined, said. He tweeted this yesterday, and I totally agreed with him, which is I kind of don't want to see VR experiences. Like we've been thinking maybe we port all of our VR stuff to Vision Pro, right? But now that I've used it for a few days, I'm like, I'm not sure that's the right call because I've done a few VR things in here, and honestly, it feels claustrophobic, right? Like I feel like it's like I like having this connection. Like I'm looking at my window right there, looking at some snow. Like it's a nice feeling, even though, when there are people around me, it's nice to know where they visually are. And suddenly when there's like a VR app, it's like, ooh, I'm not sure I like that, in comparison. So, I mean, to your point, following on, maybe it's just completely different experiences, right? I mean, it's like, it's just a different category.
Kind of speaking from the Puzzling Places perspective. So we also developed the game with 5 people originally, and we're one of the more successful titles on the Quest, which I'm really happy to say. We've been on it for the last 2 years, and it's a very, very difficult journey to get there. And it started as like a side quest kind of experience prototype. And so the way we're thinking with Vision Pro is that the market will actually be profitable by Gen 3 or 4, which is kind of true with every Apple device. It's like it was the iPhone 4 that really hit its stride. It was the Apple Watch Series 4 that also really hits its stride. So they take a few generations to really get there. But of course, by then, it'll be definitely a saturated it could be a saturated market in terms of the App Store. So being early in the App Store can be a huge leg up. And that's been the case with VR this whole time. It's like, as an indie dev, get in before the big players do, because then you're just going to be competing in a much smaller market, even though you might not make as much money. So that's the hope, and that's why we're day one game on the Quest, and we're doing decently well. Like we have a lot more reviews than many other games and apps that we've seen on the Vision Pro, and so I think that typically that translates to more downloads. So let's see how that will work out for us long term. I'm hoping it does.
Oz, how do you think people are finding Puzzling Places on the App Store here? Do you think it's organic, or they're linking from other places, or what?
I don't. It's hard. So we haven't really been featured by Apple at all, which kind of sucks. Of course, there's one other spatial sort of puzzling game that has been. It's like very prominently featured, and they have like 10x more reviews than us. And so I was like, but then I did find us. So I've done basically all the marketing and publishing for it, and so I've reached out to a ton of like journalists and that were making lists and whatnot, and we were able to get on a few, like, here's apps to download for Vision Pro lists, like TechCrunch and one other one. So maybe that has helped. I do a lot on Reddit as well, and just posting on the various relevant subreddits and making sure that's there. But yeah, I think it's always falls upon us to market ourselves, and that's how Puzzling Places came to be on the Quest. It was like just pure guerrilla, grassroots marketing from originally on Reddit, and then we built a community, and that community helped us get onto the store, and we've basically had to fight like tooth and nail to get up to all the various stores, and that's the same case here. Like we don't get any help from anyone. We have to do it ourselves. So it's hard. I don't know. I think you just have to try to be on people's feeds, on people's lists. Like we haven't really done any paid. Like we've tried ads. It doesn't really. I don't know. It hasn't really translated much. You just have to be there on, especially Reddit is a big one for us in the enthusiast space. You have to be there.
Yeah. Good tips.
Yeah. I gotta take time off for my neck. I'm really starting to feel it now.
We've been in here for a while.
I feel like I
don't want to kill it. Yeah. You guys keep chatting.
That's good to chat.
Thanks, Oz.
Cheers, guys.
So Alex, following on that discussion, I mean, I agree with your tweet, right? I feel like it's going to be other apps, I mean, how do you feel, right? I mean, maybe some of the popular VR apps for sure, but the lack of controllers means Beat Saber is not cool in here, right? For example.
The moment I think this will be really exciting from a VR, can I do air quotes? Yeah, I can, air quotes, a VR/immersive perspective. I think it'll be exciting when we start to see immersive experiences in here that would be totally impossible on a other standalone headset, because we know how powerful of a device this is. So, if we see other games from other VR stores, fine. This is one of the reasons I haven't used my PSVR 2 nearly as much as I thought I would, because there just aren't that many experiences there that aren't also on Quest, for example. But if we saw something that was Unreal Engine with full lumen and nanite, like something that normally would require an RTX 4070 at least, or something like that, that starts to get really exciting. I think something like the Encountering Dinosaurs experience is kind of getting there. Like there's certain parts of that feel beyond a lot of the other VR experiences I've seen out there, but it feels like a novelty for the most part. Like I don't know if I want to push away all of the other elements of my workspace to just engage in a single experience for a length of time. I mentioned trying to use a Jetpack Joyride, which is like a little casual game, and I was so surprised they have a giant immersive environment that takes you out of everything else. I thought I was going to play this while watching, True Detective on HBO, and they don't let you do that. So, even the iPad versions of some of these games I prefer right now, because it actually emulates pretty well. The iPad experience coming over to here is actually fine in many cases. But I think especially once persistence gets to the point where you can turn off the device and turn it back on, and all your windows and photos and spatial videos are in the places you left them, that starts to get really compelling. And I am going to be very excited about more apps like Wisp, for example, from Liquid City, where it's like a little, self-contained volume. It's three-dimensional. It's taking advantage of some really special things about the device, but you're going to like put that on your desk and you've got that little plant that's like always there. And it's a little thing for you to interact with, almost like a fidget toy that the persistence becomes really important. And it's never saying, hey, look at me and look at nothing else. I'm the only thing that should be in your attention right now. But it's always kind of there, just like your desk in real life, just like your workspace where you have different tools and, little fun things. I'm imagining like the classic kind of like job simulator desk and just all the kind of things you have there. But having all of those things be different apps and volumes, that just seems so much more compelling than anything immersive right now. But we'll see.
I love that. That's super cool. How about other folks? Yeah.
I was like talking about to two students today who wanted to get into spatial computing, and they wanted advice on how to get started, and basically told them like you have to be patient. It's not easy in spatial computing, but with the Vision Pro, I think.
No, I lost his audio, Tom.
Yeah, I just lost your audio. Oh man,
Tom, we lost your audio. Tom, we lost your audio. Oh man.
You know what's really weird about that? The second that Tom went silent on us, I was lowering the volume on my headset. And I thought, oh my God, what a bug. I just tried to turn it down a little bit and it completely just killed the audio for everyone. But then Eugene just spoke right after that. So yeah, it's not that. I'm not scared.
It's so buggy. I mean, it's a Gen 1 device, so I want to give them slack. But I mean, I just encounter so many bugs constantly. Like even stuff that should work. I was on a few-hour Zoom call just 2 days ago. I think someone else mentioned that. And it's like I was connecting to my Mac screen and it was there, but then I closed it for a second and then it just wouldn't open again, right? I had to restart both the computer and the Vision Pro. But I'm here on this work call, with someone else with the Vision Pro, and I didn't want to like leave, right? But I did need my Mac, so it was just like all this stuff is just supposed to work, and it just doesn't right now.
I found a easily replicatable bug. If you're turning the device on and you're in a moving vehicle, whether you're on a plane or whether you're in a car, you'll see the passcode option jump by for like a split second and then disappear, and the travel mode notification comes up. And then because it skipped the passcode, you can't actually select anything with your fingers. Like it doesn't let you say, yes, enter travel mode. So the whole device is locked up and you have to take the headset off completely and then put it back on for the passcode to appear for you to be able to like put your passcode in and move forward towards it. So basically like that bugged experience means that like your headset is completely locked up and bricked until you remove it and put it back on, which is a pretty bad experience.
Wow.
Yeah, similarly, I was doing a screen recording, and of course, and then again, this is my ski experience because it was actually one of the most informative. Like when you really take it out, I feel like you learn a lot. And just a random thing too. If you like right now, I accidentally swiped because I thought I was swiping. But when you eat potato chips or tortilla chips while watching a movie, it thinks you're selecting, or popcorn, it thinks you're selecting. But when I was trying on the ski lift, I was recording this video, just a screen recording, just to see what that was like. Got on the lift. It said you have to turn travel mode on, but you have to turn travel mode on before you get on. Like you would think that one of these buttons you could just turn it on. So I was just screen recording. I couldn't stop it. I asked Siri to stop it, and nothing worked. Right. So it was just it was just very not good. Like it was just very unpolished. So it was just the recording didn't stop. There's no way to stop it. So if I was stuck on a plane or something moving, I'm just kind of stuck with it constantly going.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what things Siri can and can't do with this. Like, it's really cool to move your head around and say, like, open Twitter, open Slack, whatever, and those all appear right in front of you. I like that you can tell the environment to, turn dark, turn light, change the environment, etc. But basic things like, can you actually tell it to start or stop a recording? Because I haven't been able to figure that out.
I'm not sure.
Anyone know?
Siri, start screen recording.
Let's all try right now.
It says you can learn how to create a screen recording on apple.com. That's what I got. Did anyone else get something different?
Hilarious.
All right. Actually, that's a good point. Let me try to start one now. Okay.
It gave you the default answer that Siri does. Is like, I found this on the web, and it just forces you to look at the phone. So that's the end of most queries.
I agree.
And by the way, does anyone else think it's really weird that they made the dedicated?
Oh no, did we lose audio again? Alex.
Oh no, Alex.
Alex, we lost
no.
you. Alex, we lost you.
Oh no.
So if for the people who've lost, do you not hear us? Do you not hear us if you lose audio? If we lose
your audio fully cuts out. It's both the microphone and what you hear.
Yes, the times that it has cut out for me, I lost everyone's audio. So that's how I knew.
I gotta say, this was an issue I've had with the Quest 2. So like the audio subsystem crashing seems to be like a common thing in VR headsets in general. I've actually had this with Steam too, but Steam's usually it's just like it like disconnects the audio system and you can't like select it back. But with Quest, when I'm doing multiplayer, as long as the audio subsystem crashes and I get the exact same thing, no audio comes through and the microphone stops working. Or just one of them sometimes too, but usually it's both. So it's weird that like every headset seems to have problems with audio, even when video keeps working, even when like every other options keeps working, audio is still just like a thorn in our sides.
It's so unfortunate. I will say though, the mic sounds so great on this. Like when it does work, like all of y'all are coming through very clear, right? So, I mean, I think that's
maybe better for $3,500.
I also tuned in really quickly to the live stream that you're doing, Eugene. Like just when I wanted to see what it sounded like, and everyone sounds amazing through the phone. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. And you know, the thing with VR headsets is, you know, microphones is about it being close to your mouth, right? So that's what's important. But VR headsets, because they're so close to your face, i.e., your mouth, you know, the mics have tended to be better. I've noticed that even with like some of the early VR headsets, like the Valve Index has a great mic, right, relative to other ones. So
totally,
yeah. But Diego, thanks for that.
Did you guys buy any accessories for your Vision Pros?
Not yet. I haven't even bought the little pillow carrying case because at $200, I thought that for a nearly $4,000 device, I thought should have had to be included. But you know, Apple being Apple. But yeah, so I'm still shopping for carrying cases at the moment, but nothing beyond that.
Waterfield Design just announced one today. I recommend you look at it. I love Waterfield Designs. I have their case for everything. I actually collaborated with them on the case for the LoomPad 2. And actually
what's
for the
it
Analog
called?
Pocket,
What's the name
on that too. Waterfield Designs. You could go to sfbags.com. They do everything by hand. They're just like this boutique case maker for electronics and some other stuff too. And everything they make is just so beautiful, so high quality. I've never regretted buying something for whether it's for my Analog Pocket, whether it's for my AirPods Max, whether it's for my LoomPad 2, like all the stuff they make is just absolutely beautiful. And they just announced one for the Vision Pro today, and it's smaller than the official Apple one. It's a little bit cheaper too, but it's handmade and has multiple like leather options and stuff. I thought it was beautiful. If I didn't already have the Apple one,
yeah,
that's what I would buy.
I'm looking at it on the
headset. It's really nice, I have to say. Me too. I'm locking it on right now. It's actually pretty nice. Very, very cool. Especially the leather.
But I do like the Apple case. The Apple case is pretty good. I got the Belkin battery clip, which basically replicates the Magic Leap Merce. You know what I mean? They have like a little Merce that you could have with the light pack. So it lets you do that with the Vision Pro's battery too. So I got both of those, but because you can't hot swap the batteries, I didn't get an extra battery. I was like, I'll just plug a battery into the Vision Pro battery. I don't need a second one.
Yeah.
Speaking of cases, this is nothing to do with the Visual Pro, but I recently got myself a case for my iPhone 15. The brand is MOUS Mouse. They do all sorts of cases for your Mac, for iPad, for MOUS. Absolutely incredible in terms of how many times this has fallen. And not only it has protected the phone, but also it doesn't seem to show signs that I've dropped it that much. So because they've got this technology that's like this gel on the inside that protects against anything like just heavy hits and stuff like that. They haven't done anything for the Apple Vision Pro yet, but I am beyond belief just like so happy with the iPhone case. And yeah, definitely check them out. I haven't been impressed by an iPhone case in like all throughout this until now. And that led me to buy the MacBook case as well. Same technology, same gel on the inside. Super, super cool stuff.
I think Alex was talking about how the Quest 1 case fits very well, or the Vision Pro fits well in the Quest 1.
Yeah.
I like how it's smaller, right? The Vision Pro Apple case seems way too big for its own good for being a travel case.
I liked Tina found a way to put both a Quest 3 and a Vision Pro in the same case just by having them kind of, back to back with each other. It's kind of a clever use case. You would want something, I think, between to like cushion and make sure the screens don't get scratched or anything like that. But, clever ideas.
Yeah, I really think travel is going to be such a huge use case for me personally, right? So, I mean, even just being on the road, even if the car wasn't a great experience, it was nice to have the big 4K screen of your Mac. So I'm excited about that. Like I brought my Quest Pro to Europe and I found it very lacking. This pass-through was bad and like, the way it connected wasn't the best. So I deprioritized it. But the thing about traveling is I like to travel light. I mean, traveling light is great. And these cases are just so big. Like I feel like as long as you just protect the inner lens, you should be able to just stuff it in, right? I mean, I had to go skiing with this $4,000 device, and it seems to be working fine. So maybe I'm a little bit more haphazard with it, but I just wish these cases were smaller. This Waterfield design one looks great.
I also think that unlike, I didn't think the video would be such a big use case, but I think like doing social video is actually a massive use case for this. Like I didn't realize how much I like it because I like big screen, but I would do it once every 2-3 months or something. But this one I can see myself doing it maybe a couple times a week even. Like it's that good of an experience. And I run a Twitter community called the Vision Pro Owners Club. So if you guys want to jump on that, we already have over 100 members and it's growing quick. I'd love to schedule some FaceTime movie nights with you guys. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Throw on some 3D movies and it'd be pretty cool. But for me, it's getting a little bit late. So I've been a couple hours on this. Had a great talk with you guys. Learned so much from you. I'm gonna run to the office, but I'd love to do this again sometime. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay.
Thanks, Nima, for joining.
Great connecting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yahoo.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Love it. Yeah,
I just had to do a full device restart because my audio was not working at all. I couldn't.
Yep.
You guys couldn't hear me. I could hear you.
Also, so there's all sorts of different versions of the bug. Sometimes where the whole audio gets cut off, then when you can hear them, but they cannot hear you. Like, we're stress testing it in every possible way right now.
I think it's great. I love. I mean, the fact about early adopters. I mean, VR people, we are so used to buggy stuff. Right. I mean, it's like if you work in VR, it's literally just a history of dealing with bugs, but it's cool to try this with you all. I mean, this is a cool experiment. I feel like I said,
it's been a fantastic. Yeah.
I feel like if this were 3D and I mean, it was more like spatialized in terms of like your physical space, I think it would just be a total killer use case. Total killer use case. Yeah. I think it'd be awesome.
I'm sure someone's working on it.
Yeah, if we can get that face data, I guess if we parse the face data through the video feed and then map it onto a face and do it in real time, right, with very little latency, I mean, that would be the way to do it, right?
I don't see why they wouldn't give it to you in Reality Kit, considering they give you the 52 blend shapes with iOS, right? What do you think, Alex? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Alex.
Sorry, I'm talking to my wife.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, well, my take on that is I hope they do. But the thing about your 52 blend shapes is you gotta, or the 51. Is it 52 these days? But you basically have to do this. Whereas this is like just on your head constantly, right? So it's constantly taking the data. So it is more, you could forget about it easier, right? So therefore the privacy, I mean, certainly potentially more concerns. But I mean, I think what this technology is pointing us to is where privacy is like, I mean, I feel like future generations are going to think of what we think of as privacy constraints as quaint that would be what I posit, right? They'd say, oh, wow, those quaint little guys in the medieval Stone Ages, who didn't have their face tracked every second of every day, of every moment, right? So anyway.
This is dinner time conversation for us. My wife's a privacy lawyer, so we talk about this all the time in my house. It's really fascinating where it's all going, right?
Yeah. Do you trust Apple more than other? I mean, that's like the common refrain in Silicon Valley. Oh, we trust Apple more. Yeah. Like, do you actually do that? Like all this stuff is supposed to stay on device and all those things. Do you feel better about Apple than others, or do you think that's just?
I think I do. I mean, it's Apple is in the the advertising space now, but that's not their core business. So I feel like their core business is selling me hardware and helping developers sell stuff and taking money from commissions from developers. So like it's if their core business strays more into advertising, then I would probably trust them less. But I feel like most of their advertising has to do with advertising apps in the App Store and whatnot. You know, how do you think about it?
It's a good question. I mean, I trust because of that's exactly what I say. So like, not to just ape what you said, but like, it's been more about what they're making money on. And it's always been a hardware company and now kind of like a hardware and software company. But I mean, the reason is so much more expensive. I mean, Meta is subsidizing their headset quite a bit more than Apple is subsidizing it, right? So, you know, just business model differences. I think in the end, though, I think they should give developers access to the face data. I think that's going to open up a whole can of worms in terms of privacy. But it does seem like the right technological path, right? I mean, you should give people the option to, obviously. I mean, give people the option to not get the face data. But if people want to stream their face at 90 frames a second to VR chat, like, let them do it, right? And if VR chat's going to store all that data and make an LLM or make a model that replicates them, then, you know, that was their choice, right? You know what I mean? So anyway.
And I'll just say this. As a dev, I don't want all the face data. I just want the blend shapes. Just give me the blend shapes as floats, like Unreal Live Link style, and that's going to be enough to animate an avatar and make something really cool. Combine that with the person's voice and these awesome mics, and maybe even get the, you know, if they're doing finger tracking, I would like that too, right? But I don't need the whole hand. I just want to be able to articulate the finger joints, like to have a rigged avatar. That would be enough for me.
So I actually totally agree with you. And when I say face data, I literally mean just the face blend shapes. You know, like that's it. Like, because also I have the theory that people aren't going to want to be this necessarily. I mean, I think they will in certain contexts, but I think people want to be furries. They want to be anime girls. They want to be dinosaurs, right? And all I need is the blend shapes to make them do that, right? So I don't care about the face. I want your blend shapes, right? And I think that's because the user wants the blend shapes, not because I want them as a developer. It's like, I don't give a crap about like storing that data, but it's like, if people want to be in the virtual world together, that's going to make the interaction so much better, right? So totally agree. I'm on the same page. I feel like this is maybe time for closing thoughts. I mean, this has been an amazing experience, but if anyone has, I mean, for the folks left, Alex, Diego, Michael, this has been a pleasure. To the audience out there who's been watching us, it's been a pleasure. But yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much for putting this together, Eugene. I mean, we've gone through the bugs, we've gone through the experience, stress testing Zoom and all that. So yeah, no, this is great to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll just say I didn't hate this. Like watching everyone's personas, it was natural enough that I didn't feel like sick to my stomach with the Uncanny Valley. Like, this worked. And considering it's only going to get better, this is the worst it will ever be, I think we're in good shape.
I love that.
I agree. Well, in my case, because I haven't met any of you in person before, then I was even less. Well, now I can see Eugene now, like so I can see maybe the differences between, even though you have the headset on right now because you have the camera. But there you go. but now, and I also saw you at the very beginning of the call when you didn't have it on. But I think that for all the other personas in front of me, like, I never felt any type of weirdness or anything like that, because I think that it's there's something about it, or the way that it's right now, that it's good enough, it's decent enough that I didn't feel any type of weird feeling from it.
It's passable, and I think we're all kind of pre-trained from the pandemic to deal with the latency effects of Zoom and know how to handle the awkwardness of it. Because I mean, if you think about it, if you go back to the days of POTS lines, like plain ordinary telephone system lines, that was so low latency, and the audio quality was so good. But then we jumped to the convenience of cell phone calls, which had higher latency, and then Zoom, which with even higher latency, that we're all kind of like pretty good at it. So these low fidelity, hyper realistic avatars are, I guess, par for the course that we're used to. So it was a great conversation. So I think I think just like anything else, like the conversation really matters. So I'm happy to have jumped on with you, and and been able to talk. And even with the audio issues, like I kept wanting to come back. So that's that really says something.
I love that. Thanks for that sentiment. And before we depart, I'm going to see how bad the VR face is here. So it's not.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, it's definitely noticeable. But I mean, it's not the worst. I guess it's what I'm used to, right? With all this stuff.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. This has been a great convo. I think time just flies, both in VR, but obviously with good company. So thanks for joining, and I look forward to the next time we connect.
Indeed.
Thanks everyone.
See you later. Together. Take care.
Bye.
Woo-hoo.
Take care. Bye bye.